The Bathurst Endurance Round brought out the best in pre-series favourite Josh Rogers.
Oh, he gets a massive push, but goes for the lead anyway.
The Walkinshaw Andretti United driver combined with teammate Jared Filsell to make it a 1-2 finish at Mount Panorama.
It's 1-2 for Walkinshaw Andretti United at the mountain.
Boost Mobile Racing's Ethan Grigg-Gault showed his class, holding off a determined Dane Warren from Red Bull Holden Racing Team to complete the podium.
Great drive, Ethan Grigg-Gault, his second podium of the year.
Tonight, we head to the States for 3 more absorbing races as the action heats up in the Gfinity Supercars Eseries. We are back once again, coming to you live from the Gfinity studios in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to round 3 of the Gfinity Supercars E-Series, brought to you by Shannon's. 2 weeks ago, it was a lot of fun. 250 Ks around Bathurst. Tonight, we go back to the sprint mode for round 3. 3 races in the Americas. We're all up in North America today for 3 of the best tracks in the USA. And I've got 2 of the best guests to be joining me. Briony Ingerson, once again. That's the nicest thing I'll probably say about you all night.
Ever,
probably, yes, that's a good point. And Dylan O'Keefe, Dunlop Super 2 star. We'll start with you tonight, Dylan. Welcome to the show. We saw a whitewash from the Walkinshaw guys a couple of weeks ago, but as a proud Boost Mobile racer and GRM boy, maybe your team can bounce back tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, it'll be great to watch my fellow Boost Mobile teammates tonight with Ethan and Ian. I'm sure they'll do a great job and represent us well. So looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. And yeah, there'll be some close racing, I'm sure.
It's very cool because you have a lot of experience in iRacing as well. But Briony, 2 weeks ago, it was just annihilation. 1-2, form, finish, everything.
Absolutely, it was crazy. Do you reckon there are any team orders for the burnouts?
Maybe.
We're not allowed to
very
say that. We're not allowed to talk
synchronised.
about that anymore. Yeah, it was awesome. But back to sprint racing tonight. So 3 individual races. Don't shake your head.
We've gone completely off the rails.
It didn't take long, did it? Yeah. Really looking forward to it. You know, I love America. I love everything about it, and especially love their racing circuits. And we are visiting 3 of the best tonight. Yeah,
3 famous tracks. We'll let you in on what they are and where we're going very, very shortly. But the championship spin off the back of Mount Panorama, and well, it was all changed at the top. So Rogers and Filsell go up. The big loser out of all of that was poor Madison Downey, went crashing down the order. But the good news for the Boost Mobile guys, they're looking pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, they sure are. I mean, they're coming off a back of 2 top 5 finishes at Bathurst, which was fantastic to see. So nice and consistent at Bathurst. Let's see how we go tonight with the sprint format. Should be really interesting, and it'll be easy to make a mistake as well. So high pressure tonight, and yeah, wish the boys best of luck.
Well, Josh Rogers, he is the man to beat coming into tonight. Once they got back onto their own equipment at home, we saw a huge change in his form. He had to pull off a few moves, Briony, at Bathurst, but he was just so decisive in making them stick.
Exactly, and this was one of them here, a textbook move on his teammate to pretty much take the lead, and he was never really headed after that, was he? Sort of established the lead until this form finish and a celebratory burnout or 2 from the Walkinshaw Andretti United duo. And obviously, as we mentioned, taking the championship lead. 150 points up for grabs tonight, and there's only 32 points separating those 2 in terms of the championship. So we could end this evening with a new championship leader, who knows?
One guy who's looking very consistent in the championship hunt at the moment, Red Bull Holden Racing Team driver Dane Warren. He's looking really, really strong. Picked up the pole at Bathurst, had to really fight for a few positions early. So this is how Bathurst played out, Dylan, for Dane. He's the sole Red Bull Holden Racing Team car. A lot of responsibility there. Didn't get a great start, but man, he made up for it later in the race.
Yeah, he sure did. He had some decisive overtakes, which is hard during a long race like it was at Bathurst. So well done to him for doing some clean moves and aggressive racing. So when there's a high stakes championship on the line, you've got to really risk it, which he did. So well done to him.
Point in case, right there. Had a serious crack around the outside of your boy Ethan. That was for 3rd, missed out on the podium, Briony, by that much.
Yeah, but if there was an award for hard charger, I think he would definitely be it for that Bathurst endurance round, because he fell back quite a few positions.
About 7th, I think.
It felt like he passed more cars than anyone else, I think. And I think he'll probably be kicking himself a little that he didn't capitalise on that pole position. But 4th place, still a good haul of points. And I think he'll be looking to redeem himself tonight for sure.
So there were a lot of different spots and passing manoeuvres made, but we did ask all the fans online what their favourite Shannon's classic moments were going to be. And the feedback was not quite unanimous, but certainly it tipped Jared Filsell with this sweet move going 2 wide up through the cutting. So Jared Filsell picks himself up $500. There's nothing virtual about that money. That is real money.
Cold hard cash, exactly. This was in a couple of opening laps of that race. And our classic moment fan winner Jamie Bernot. Hopefully I have said that properly. And not sure if Jamie is a he or a she, but they pocketed themselves $500 just for nominating their classic moment.
Yeah, so if Jamie is going to be at the Vodafone Gold Coast 600...
Come see me.
Yeah, definitely Jamie's shout. So
yes,
well done.
Exactly.
There'll be another competition running straight off the back of tonight. We'll pick 3 moments from tonight's 3 races. And at the end of the show, make sure you go online and vote for your favourite because you can pick up $500. It is that easy. So let's talk about tonight's tracks. Really, really excited to get to this topic because we've got some really cool IndyCar and NASCAR tracks. And I've always wanted to know, what would supercars be like around these circuits? We've got Sonoma, which is our onboard lap right now. We've got Watkins Glen, which is really, really cool. And we'll finish the night with Laguna Seca. Let's take a look over the shoulder of Madison Down. Talk us around this really undulating, wild circuit that's north of San Francisco, Dylan.
Yeah, so Sonoma's very technical, which we can see on this onboard lap. Lots of flowing sections throughout, which is quite tricky with a supercar that's not very aerodynamic as such. So really trying to flow that speed around. Fresh tyres should help that, but as they start to wear down, we'll start to get lots of oversteer in these sections. Really tricky with the hard stops to not lock the rear brakes and run on through the corner. So it'll be easy to pressure some people into some good overtakes, I hope. So I think we can look forward to seeing some close racing and intensity through those slower hairpin corners. Yeah,
it's all this sort of running through the S's where they'll be pretty much single file. Not a lot you can do about it there, but there's a really good passing spot up here under brakes, which is the big hairpin and the biggest stop on the track. There's also that pit entrance over the left-hand side. There will be pit stops, remember. Every single race has a compulsory pit stop. Race 2 tonight, which is at the Glen, will be reverse grid from the qualifying order that we had earlier. So really great track, opened up in the 50s, first hosted NASCAR in the 80s, I think 89, which is also Dick Johnson's first ever NASCAR race, 1989,
yes.
at Sonoma.
Located in wine country.
Yes, just north of San Fran. So you'd love it.
I love it.
Definitely your part of the world. We did throw Dylan on our sim here at Gfinity to have a bit of a crack in the Logitech gear. Very impressive, as always, Dylan. With so much experience that you have in iRacing, how did you find the Logitech equipment?
Yeah, the Logitech equipment was excellent. I really enjoyed my time on it. The force feedback was very realistic and you could get great feel through the steering and pedals. I mean, I still had my shoes on, so I was double footing with the brake and clutch, which was a rookie error. I should have had my socks on. But no, nevertheless, great fun. Controls are really sleek, and if you need to do adjustments within the car, you can see with the controls on there, very easy to do. And with the supercar tonight, the boys will be adjusting their brake bias throughout and their anti-roll bars too. So you'll see them at home with their controls doing much the same.
Have you platform sneakers on?
Not quite.
Massive, the soles.
Not quite.
You know, you were lucky to feel anything through those pedals.
Because I need more height, I think.
Not quite fireproof, but you don't really need that when you go running around out here. So we did have qualifying earlier tonight. And if you're a Walkinshaw Andretti United fan, you'll be pretty happy right now because they have once again taken the cake tonight. So the first 1 minute 10.9 that we've seen around here from Josh Rogers. So that's a huge lap from Josh. And his teammate, Jared, 61 thousandths of a second behind him. How tight is that?
Yeah, it's extremely close racing. So well done to those guys. It's showing that their setups are doing really well too because those guys are teams and they'll be at home talking to each other as well and they'll be trying different things in the lead up. So congratulations to them and it shows how close the field is tonight. So looking forward to seeing some of the racing.
Yeah, Dane Warren, last round's pole position sitter, pole sitter, is qualified third. And down the back of the field, Brady Myers and Josh Muggleton got some work to do. They're one of a few drivers that haven't yet got a top 5 finish in any of the races. So they'll be looking to hopefully break through tonight and maybe strategy will work their way because when you've got 16 laps, you can maybe try something a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also Brady, who ran through, pretty much all the drivers who ran through the draft system got to race at Laguna Seca in the draft. So that's on tonight, which might help. So second for round 1 in qualifying, second for round 2 in qualifying, and the pole tonight. Congratulations to Josh Rogers. We've got him now for a quick chat via Discord. Josh, congratulations on taking your first pole of the season. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Epic to obviously have the Mobile 1 Walkinshaw Andretti United Commodore off the pole. Lap was pretty good. It took me a little while to get into the rhythm of it. Obviously, Sonoma is quite a challenging circuit, but yeah, at the end of the day, we got the job done and we're starting off the best position.
Yeah, front row lockout as well, which is very impressive. We saw the form finish a couple of weeks ago. Was that always the plan, to slow it down and let Jared catch up to go side by side across the finish line?
Well, obviously, permitting the things going the right way. We weren't quite sure what can happen. Obviously, a long race at Bathurst, but yeah, in the end, obviously, we did that formation finish, which I think was obviously really, really good for the team. And to be able to lock out the top 2 positions, I don't think we could have expected any more out of that race.
You're looking very, very good in this championship at the moment. You are the championship leader, your first ever pole award. Josh, good luck tonight. We hope you can piece it together for the first race.
Thanks. Hopefully it's an exciting one for you guys.
Yeah, we hope so as well. I think it's going to be. We've got sprint racing.
Yep.
We've got everything we need. All the ingredients are there. And it's going to be a Walkinshaw front row. But on the way to the break before the first race tonight, we're going to switch our attention to Brad Jones Racing and Dunlop. And our first profile driver of the night is Jake Burton.
So I got into sim racing about 2010, having a little bit of fun just driving cars at tracks that I didn't have access to in real life. And then 2013 I started taking it seriously. I found that the competitive aspect was almost better in the sim than what it was in real life because everyone's so much closer, everyone's so much more prepared. Concentration's huge and it's really helped me in car racing to be more consistent. I've been a full-time competitor in the Toyota 86 Racing Series since the start of 2018. Phillip Island this year was my second time. Straight off the bat qualifying in the rain P4, which was really, really cool. Behind a couple of guys, notably Tim Brook, who won the championship the year before, and Garth Tander, who's obviously a champion in supercars. Got a really awesome start in the first race, put the move on him down into turn 1, which is so cool. Unfortunately, the race went a little downhill from there, but that's something the sim's actually really helped me with, is those starts and stuff. Because as I say, with the sim racing, it being so much more accessible, I'm doing starts every single day just about. Just being prepared for that and obviously being able to do it against a guy like Garth Tander is pretty cool too. Of all the supercars teams in this series, I very much doubt many of the other teams actually got a phone call from the CEO of the team themselves, whereas I did. So Brad's involvement has been fantastic, really keen to be associated with a team like them and a brand like Dunlop. I've raced all of these guys before and to beat them would be fantastic, but for me I just really want to be able to further my career in real life racing through this series.
you a motoring enthusiast? Shannons are giving you the chance to win a trip to London and the 2020 Goodwood Revival, one of the biggest historic motorsport events in the world. Plus, tour through the English countryside in a Jaguar F-Pace for 15 days, visiting historic locations and unique motoring museums, with up to $5,000 spending money for eligible Shannons Club members. Plus, win a new Indian FTR 1200S motorcycle. To enter, get a quote on your special car, spouse's car, daily drive, your bike or home. Take out a new policy for even more chances of winning. Call Shannons on 13 46 46 or go online today.
We are ready to go racing tonight, and the first track on the menu, we are off to Sonoma, a really, really cool racetrack, and we're about to find out what supercars would look like around here in anger. And your pole man is Josh Rogers. It's a Walkinshaw Andretti United front row lockout. Red Bull Holden Racing team in third. Madison Down, winner of the opening round, locked in at fourth. Brad Jones Racing in there in fifth. We've got a pair of Boost Mobile cars. Dylan, you'll be excited about this. 6th and 8th for your guys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, mid-pack, it's not exactly what we would have hoped for, but these guys will do a great job coming through the pack tonight. I mean, high-intensity format tonight with close racing, so these guys should look to make their way through, I hope.
Yeah, just 1.7 seconds, roughly, separating pole position, Josh Rogers down to Josh Muggleton. Josh, the only one in the 1-minute 10s. Everyone else about in the 1-minute 11s. Look, I'm hoping to see what the likes of like Emily Jones and Brenton Hobson can do from, further back in the field. See if they'll throw something out there for a different kind of a strategy, because both of them desperately looking, I think, for a good solid result just to boost their confidence a little bit.
Yes, and remember, it's that grid that we will reverse for race 2. It doesn't go off the race results from this next race. So very much looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out. 61 thousandths of a second separate first from second, and the two Walkinshaw Andretti United teammates. There's pit stops to consider, and there's also been a change with the Gfinity rules here this week on circuit and weather dynamics as well. So it's going to be more real time to where we go around the world with all these different circuits. What that ultimately means is that we're expecting cooler track conditions. We've also got our Melbourne-based pit reporter, Jonathan Simon, who's going to be watching all the action throughout the course of the night. Jonathan, how do we expect these new regulations to play out in real terms tonight?
First of all, credit to Gfinity and Supercars for listening to driver feedback, trying to improve this series. I think we're going to see more bumper-to-bumper racing, which I didn't think could get any better after round one. We saw a thrilling first round with those 3 races. But most of all, the beauty of a dynamic track on iRacing is that it's currently about 8 a.m. in sim time when we do this race and when the lights illuminate. But if the race went for about 4 hours, and thank goodness it doesn't, but if the race went about 4 hours, you'd see that track temp rise about 30 degrees. So you can see why all these pro racing teams are really interested in these advanced simulators.
Yeah, very, very realistic. Would you be brave enough to try and pick when the first pit stop's going to happen in a 20-lap race?
It's definitely dependent on context. If you're stuck in traffic, definitely pit early. But with such cool conditions, it could take some time for those tires to get up to temperature. So let's see if anybody throws something in the works and goes for an early pit stop.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan, down there in Melbourne, keeping an eye on all the action. He's tuned in via iRacing. Not too far away from a race start. Briony, what are we going to see here? Pit stops, yes. Are we going to see a surprise? Can anyone catch the Walkinshaw guys?
I think so. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just thinking about 8 a.m. and whether the corporate boxes are open
would be open at the top.
They're serving drinks.
Well, it is red wine country, so hopefully...
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
See you at the end of the
Hopefully that'd be open nice and early. The drag strip sitting alongside the front straight. How about your boys at GRM? How far can they climb up in this one?
I think it'll be great to see them inside the top 5. I mean, 20-lap race, it'll be difficult to overtake. A lot of the pit stop action should determine the end result, I reckon. So, interested to see how this will go.
All right, we are ready for a start with the 5th race of the championship. It's probably a better start to Jared Filsell. He gets the inside line through to turn 1. The 2 Walkinshaw guys are out of there, and Filsell might just wrestle the lead off his teammate. They climb the hill for turn 2. Jake Burton runs it wide, and it's not quite done yet. They'll go side by side down the hill, and it looks like just Josh Rogers is going to hang on to the lead of that race, but his teammate really made him work for it, gave him lots of racing room, and they've been able to hold Dane Warren back as well as they go out wide through turn 4 and get really close to that big tyre wall at the exit.
Jake Burton losing quite a lot of spots there. Looked like he ran off the track potentially, but he's dropped from 5th starting down to 7th, maybe perhaps even 8th.
All over him. So through the S's we go. On board with Madison down. This looks a bit better from Madison. Looked a bit out of sorts last time at Bathurst. Running through the S's and over the curbs. You can use so much of that curb. Be surprised if anyone goes for a lap 1 pit stop, but we've seen crazy things so far in this series. So they flick the cones out of the way, and it looks like everyone's going to continue in this big train of cars. Rogers, Vilsell, Warren the top 3. Madison down, fairly steady start. Ethan Griggould up a spot to 5th, so a good start for the GRM team.
Yeah, well done to him. Already in the top 5. He has a bit of time to catch Madison down, so he'll put his head down, try and do some clean laps, and I reckon once he starts to get a bit close to him and can't find a way around, he'll slide into the pits. So should be interesting to see this one unfold. However, at the start with the 2 Walkinshaw guys, they had to be really careful because they can easily lose that on the first lap, so it brought Dane straight into it, but we'll see what happens from here.
Close do they get to that tyre wall at the exit of turn 4, really fast right-hander, and then both locking up. That was Madison down in the Shannon's car, who really lost probably 4 or 5 car lengths as a result. Dane Warren pouring the pressure onto Jared Filsell. So top 3 in the championship, top 3 on the road.
Lost out massively there. It's super easy to make a mistake in these cars with the rear lock-in, so we've got to be careful for that, and we'll see some overtaking done via that tonight. So he lost a lot of ground going into this fast-flowing section before the hairpin.
Close, just about into the back of Jared Filsell at the hairpin.
Almost close to a bump and run.
Yep, thought about it. Gave him heaps of room. One thing that has been apparent in the 4 races so far this year is the amount of respect they have between each other. They do race each other on a lot of nights, so they're quite used to each other's company on the track. Yeah, they have lots of respect for each other, and they know each other and how they race against each other. I mean, we see that in the real world. You know what people are going to do and how they're going to do it. So it's early stages at the moment. We'll see how the race unfolds, especially with pressure and things like that. So the race has started to calm down now, and then we might see some pit stops starting to happen soon for people stuck in traffic. Yeah, the battle's really heating up here, isn't it, between Dane Warren and Jared Filsell. Dane's really getting the advantage at the moment, it looks, over Filsell. I'd be interested to know if he's got the speed to run with Josh, if he can get around Jared here. It's all over the back of him at the moment. So championship leader leading this race. Further back in the pack, Ethan Griggould, steady start, driving for Dylan O'Keefe's Gary Rogers Motorsport. It's amazing how much curb you can use in these cars around this track. Yeah, it is amazing, but on that hand, you've got to be careful because in iRacing, you can get cut courses. So if you happen to cut the course and you lose, and they make you slow down for a second, that's going to ruin your night. So these guys have to be careful and keep that in the back of their mind, not to give up too much time as well by cutting the course. So in a supercar, they love using the curb, so they'll be maximising that as well. It's a track that runs IndyCar, so the curbs are pretty flat, run a very low profile compared to a lot of Aussie tracks. For sure. And tonight, these cars are running about 50 litres of fuel, so it's pretty much a qualifying run for 16 laps, so these cars will be quite fast. Chasing the back of this Walkinshaw Andretti United car, you can run out wide to the exit there, that's no issue. So he's really trying to put the pressure on him. I reckon if he can get through this fast-flowing section down at the hairpin, we'll look to see a move from him. It's pretty much the only genuine passing spot on the track, maybe turn 7. But here we go, through 9 and 10. Great to have the Logitech data as we ride on board with Dane Warren, driving for the Red Bull Holden Racing team. This is the spot that we were talking about, and he decides he'll be first into the pits. Oh, and he's hit one of the orange cars. And into the fence in a big way. That has gone horribly wrong for Dane Warren. Yes, damage is real and simulated as well, so that steering will be wonky for the rest of the race. That's massive, yeah. I wasn't sure whether they had fast repairs on tonight for iRacing, so be interesting to see what he can do from this. That's that's not a great way to start the race. Was that just a miscalculation, just coming in too hot, do you think? Or? I think so. I mean, these guys would have practiced that numerous times coming into the pit lane because you can make so much time on entry and exit. Yeah, he's given away a lot there, especially with the damage. That's going to hurt him. Maybe a little bit ambitious from the Red Bull Holden Racing team driver there. You can see the plan, get in, be the first to stop, and it looks like this car will take on a moment to try and fix that damage because this is a long pit stop. The car's already down off the jacks.
That's surprising. I thought he was going in there because he knew the damage wasn't on and could be repaired quickly. So very interesting there. I mean, they would have practiced that heaps of times. So very easy mistake to do in real life and also on iRacing, as we've seen. He was caught out by Jared there following him.
Meanwhile, Jared, he hasn't really let Josh get away. That gap between the two of them has gone to between a second, about 0.8 to a second. So he's not letting him get too far away at this point. Now we're in car with Ethan Griggold, who is currently running in position 3, and he's, 2.5 seconds behind the leaders.
Well, Dane Warren must have really smacked the wall because he's not come out of the pits yet. So he is stuck in the lane. We've got a couple more cars coming in now, including Madison Down and also the 81 of Josh Muggleton. So early pit stop for Down and Muggleton. And this is big. So one of the heavy hitters in this championship, a mistake, and he is out of business.
Dane will be really kicking himself about that because he was probably one of the only guys that could have ran with Josh there. And he had lots of pace and he knew he was ambitious to come in like that. And he probably could have done the undercut on fresh tyres. So I'm interested to see where Madison will stack up at the end of this too.
Wow, so a rare error. You don't see too much of this. These guys are the best in the business. Talk us through this one.
Looks like he's just broken way too late. And he's known that, jumped on the brakes, locked them all up and straight into the fence. So massive accident.
And plenty of damage to the left front corner of that car. So the Red Bull team out of action. Early pit stops going on as well. As in comes Ethan Griggold. One of the Walkinshaw cars comes in. And that was Jared Filsell. So potential chance here for Filsell to leapfrog his teammate who stays out. Maybe get the undercut. And the other talking point here will be where do they come out in comparison to those who have already pitted. So Madison Downs first on the road for those cars who've already pitted. Go back on board with the leader, Josh Rogers. He needs a really clean in lap if he is choosing to pit this lap.
Yeah, he'll just be putting his head down now, trying to be ultra consistent. He's out front, got clean air. His tyres will be nice and cool. So, yeah, he's got no issues at the moment. I reckon he'll come straight back out in the lead.
Now, Madison down the front straight and around the drivers who are in pit lane. How close was that? Comes out just ahead of Madison Down. So nice work, Jared Filsell. And there is the stranded Dane Warren car. So on board with Madison Down. He was the first to come out of pit lane. Not the first to go into pit lane. And there is Jared Filsell. So about same distance, you'd have to say, between those two.
Yeah, for sure. With the cold track temperatures this morning, it's, yeah, the tyre deg's not going to be as bad as what we've seen in previous races. So, yeah, not much of an undercut tonight, which is disappointing.
Just thinking about Dane Warren, you said before when he came in for the pits, it looked like he'd elected to stay in to fix some of that damage. 2 laps down now, is there a possibility there was too much damage and he won't be able to make it out for the rest of the race?
The other thing is you have to drop a couple of races in the first 4 rounds of the championship, and he hasn't, well, he's barely been outside the top 5 all year so far. So I think he's just gone, this one's gone. Yeah. Missed opportunity, and these points will essentially not matter to him anymore because he can drop this race.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a bonus of doing this, where in the real life you don't get to do that. So you got to make sure you're consistent, finish every race. I mean, that's how you win a championship. So obviously this is a little bit different, so he's very lucky.
And here we go. Filsell versus Rogers again. Wow, they came out really close after the pit stops, and he is pouring the pressure onto his teammate, who for a second then was very, very vulnerable. Locks the rears down at 7. Loses a little bit of mid-corner momentum. Rogers goes defensive.
This is going to bring Madison straight back into it as well. They'll be wasting a lot of time by doing this.
Can't quite get the overlap. The teammates scrapping what will be for the race lead after the round of pit stops has worked out.
Cold tyre temperatures for Josh straight out of the pits, so Jared's trying to maximise that because after a lap it will neutralise. So well done to those guys. Racing hard but racing fair as well.
He's got a run on him. Now will Josh go defensive at the hairpin? This will be his best opportunity. He does. He parks that car over on the right-hand side. And Jared will try and go the long way, but it's just not going to work on the outside. Good defensive driving, good battle between the teammates.
And Ethan's trying his best to get around Madison as well, so a little bit of a battle going on for 3rd position too.
Still putting the pressure on, up the hill towards turn 2. Bit of mid-corner oversteer, and I think the tyre temps are now starting to steady for Josh Rogers.
Most definitely, yeah. So Jared's really trying to get off the corners well. However, we saw off turn 2, he got a little bit of oversteer, which didn't help him. So in a supercar, super tricky to get the power down nice and smoothly. So set up an overtake, you got to be really cautious on that accelerator pedal.
Here's the fight for third. Ethan Griggold, yeah.
Go, Ethan.
Trying to get the mojo on and pass Madison down. He's got a cheerleader on the desk tonight. And Jake Burton from Brad Jones Racing trying to catch this pack as well. And a great effort from Madison Down, the only non-supercar team running inside the top 5.
Jake's doing an excellent job as well. He's a bit of an underdog in this one. So top 5's nice championship points. So great job to him.
And Jake is apparently quite under the weather.
Yes, as is Emily Jones as well, I believe. They've struggled this week and probably not got as much testing done as they wanted to. Meanwhile, Ethan's putting the hard word on Madison here for position 3.
Pouring that pressure on at the hairpin, got a mistake out of him, but couldn't quite capitalise.
And the longer this goes on, the closer Jake's getting to the back of him.
He's in this fight now, so Shannon's Insurance Racing versus Boost Mobile Racing and Brad Jones Racing Dunlop. So they're the 3 teams fighting over a podium. Ethan's already picked up a couple of podiums this year. Madison a couple when he won races 1 and 3 off the podium recently. And Jake, this is definitely his best race of the season so far. The lead battle over on the right-hand side, the fight for third on the left.
Madison's going to struggle to hold on for 6 laps, I reckon. Ethan's got good pace underneath him in that car, so he's trying his best to get around him. And Madison knows that his car's not performing as well, I can see from this. So see if he can hold on for the next 6 laps.
6 laps, and probably worked that out to be 2 passing opportunities a lap. He needs to protect 12 precious braking opportunities to make that move.
Those orange cones.
They're getting bounced around.
Flying everywhere.
And they're the pit entrance cones that were knocked out of the way very early. And now he's got the problem here, Ethan Griggold, of wanting to be aggressive to try and pick up a spot, but also having the big yellow lurking monster that is the Dunlop car in his mirrors.
And that's the battle you've got going on within the car the whole time as a race car driver. Your eyes forward trying to pressure someone into a mistake, but you've got to look in your mirrors too, because someone else is trying to do the exact same thing to you.
Does it also limit how off the normal racing line you can run? If you try and work an overrun, you might leave yourself vulnerable on the outside.
Exactly. So you've got to weigh it up. Is it worth it to be super aggressive and try and get the move done, and then have the chance that you're going to lose another position too? So I think Ethan might try and be aggressive for a couple laps. If he can't get it done, he might just conserve and know that 4th is a great position and get some good points.
Well, the teammates have settled down. It's now nearly a second between Rogers and Phil Selt. They've opened up a couple seconds over Madison Down. Further back, here we go to the hairpin once again. Back on board with Jake Burton, who's coming in hot. Got into the rear of Ethan Griggold.
Bump and run.
Yeah, I think he pulled out of that as well. He didn't want to overtake illegally, or immorally for that matter, and decided to not make that move stick. We've seen that once or twice already in this championship. That shows the level of respect that there is.
For sure. I mean, if you do a bump and run, you're probably going to get penalised for it anyway, so you're better off just yielding, losing probably a second they did then to Madison. However, in the long run, it will pay off.
Interesting, the elevation here. I've not been to this circuit, and it looks like there is quite a lot of elevation. I looked it up. It's actually only 49 metres, which is less than a third of Mount Panorama.
It's amazing, isn't it?
A bit more, but
and it looks like it's all in between turns 1 and 3. Like
yeah,
climb so steeply. We'll see more of that when we get to Laguna Seca later, another famously undulating track. We're hearing that there might be a penalty handed out to one of the cars in the field. Now, Jonathan Simon, you've been following this developing story. What's the latest there?
So it was to Brady Myers in the Fox Sports racing car on the opening lap. He just collected Emily Jones and Work's Law Holden, but unfortunate for Brady, but well-deserved anyway. He was unfortunately just got into the side of Emily and pretty much put her on the back foot for the rest of the race. And unfortunately, news on Dane Warren, he's officially parked it, and he's our first DNF for the season.
Wow. Yeah, I did notice that Emily did drop from 9th to 12th on that opening lap.
Right.
What had happened?
Well, he has climbed up to 7th here from, he started 11th, didn't he, Brady Myers? So that is a great drive. Unfortunately, he got the elbows out a little bit too wide, and he has been pinged for it. So we'll try and update you as to exactly what that penalty is.
And not his first penalty this season. Is this his penalty number 3?
I think it's number 3. He picked up two
speeding in pit lane.
Speeding in pit lane penalties.
Round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were both, speeding in pit lane, which is unfortunate. He did so well in the draft as well, so that's a heartbreaker, and we're hearing it's going to be championship points, not time. So 5 championship points for Brady Myers, and at least that's good. He'll get a solid result out of this race out of 11th if he can stay there.
Probably doing that has put him up to 7th, and losing those 5 championship points hasn't been the end of the world. He's probably gained a little bit more from him.
We want to see aggressive racing, so that's good. We do have our driving.
I bet Emily doesn't think it's very funny at all.
She's
Dylan.
completely dropped.
And she's doing a fantastic job this season too, so credit to her.
Yeah, she was quite strong at round 1 in particular. We had the live studio round, and she had her own live studio cheer squad.
Cheer squad, yeah.
From the workplace law team. Back on board with this fight for 3rd. No change yet. 3 laps to go. And the sun's starting to come out as well, so track temp will be climbing. It is really, really exact like that. What sort of effect would they feel in the car with the sun starting to shine through like that, Dylan?
In the real life race car, it's pretty much like a sauna on wheels, so extremely hot. You obviously got, in some races we run a cool suit box with dry ice, which is very helpful. However, these guys on the simulator at home, it actually does get quite hot inside your room if you haven't got the aircon on, which we don't know what their setups are like back home. But yeah, very interesting. So we'll see how these guys are going for the last couple of laps.
Hopefully not losing too much grip with the temp starting to come up like that as well. One thing we've noticed, once the cloud cover goes away in this game, track temp does climb pretty high.
Yeah, it sure does. And depending on your tyre pressures, it's going to affect the balance of the car for sure. So these guys, the race is neutralised. They know what they've got underneath them now. So Josh and Jared don't have to do anything too silly. So they'll just be trying to get these cars home at the moment.
So Dylan, for those that are new to sim racing or iRacing, what adjustments setting-wise can you make when you're in the car, when you're in the cabin? Is it the same as a supercar?
Yeah, so the controls inside the car are identical to what we have in real life in the supercar. So you can adjust your brake balance front to rear, and these guys might be doing that from corner to corner. So that's what we do in the supercar as well, whether you need more front brake or you need more rear. So these guys have actually told me on sim racing that if you run more rear brake, it makes the car rotate a little bit nicer. However, that's why we see these guys lock up the rear tyres and sometimes skid past the corner. Also, you can adjust your front and rear anti-roll bar for stiffness or softness, and that does affect the car's balance quite heavily. So depending if the fuel's dropping off, they might soften the rear bar as they start to lose rear grip as well.
We're getting very close to time certain here, which kicks in 45 seconds. All the races tonight limited to 20 minutes. So I think he'll just get to the stripe to start the last lap, but I'm interested to see what will happen when we reach the timeout marker, because we've not actually had it happen so far this year. So he crosses the line there to start lap 15 now. So might just get this one called. No, we're on the last lap now, so we should finish the lap off. We're about to find out, I guess, in 20 seconds. So we haven't had this scenario play out yet. Rogers, fuel cell down the top 3. We climb up towards turn 2 and then plunge down over turn 3 towards the bottom of turn 4, run it out towards the tyre wall. Rogers ahead of his teammate and doing it very, very nicely as we tick over the 20-minute mark on the last lap of the race. That battle for 3rd not quite over yet. Madison Down doing a really good job. This will be 50% conversion rate on the podium.
I'll tell you who else has done a really good job is Brent Hobson. Started from position 10. Currently in position 6. That should give him some confidence heading into the next 2 races, I would think. Good job.
Yeah, well done to him.
So great drive from Hobson in the only Ford climbing up the field. So well done to Josh Rogers. He'll just sneak to the checkered flag, a second clear of his teammate. And back-to-back, Walkinshaw Andretti 1-2s. And that is a very, very big drive. Once again, converted from the pole and extends, importantly, his championship lead.
Yeah, exactly. He's on fire. That's his 2nd win for the series. His 3rd podium in, 5 races so far. So, great job.
Time to celebrate once again as they roll around in formation. You have to drop a couple races. His worst finish so far is a 6th and a 4th. He's got a 2nd and 2 firsts, so he is looking really strong at the moment.
Yeah, very consistent. So Josh has done a lot of racing recently, and it's showing. I mean, he's super fast, and I'm sure that will carry on for the rest of the night. Whatever's working for those two, it's it's doing well.
So well done to the Walkinshaw Andretti United team. How about the mistake that we saw, the very first guy to come into the pits, Dane Warren? He was on then. That was going to be a really good race result, maybe even a win.
Yeah, he was. That car was super quick from Red Bull. He'll be kicking himself. I mean, that's such a simple mistake, and it's put him out of the race, essentially. Luckily, he can drop his worst round, so we'll wait and see how he goes in the next two races. With a quick car underneath him like that, he'll be looking forward to making up for it.
I've hit an orange cone before in real life, and my boss reckons it was the worst thing I ever did, but I don't think it was that bad. I didn't do that much damage to my car, that's for sure.
Didn't fire you across into the pit wall.
No, it did not.
And your boss wasn't Roland Dane. So
No,
let's check out the highlights from race 5 in the championship. And it was a really, really exciting start. There was a bit going on further back in the pack. Madison Down and Jake Burton here at that corner. And there was also contact between Richard Hampstead and Jake Burton. So Burton managed to just hold on to that spot as the leaders were scrapping. So our attention was all on the Walkinshaw guys, and further back, clearly there were a few guys pushing and shoving. So opening laps, and it was the two Walkinshaw cars that slotted into positions 1 and 2. The first to pit did so in very, very dramatic style.
Yeah, look at that. His race has just gone and wiped away from him just in that simple mistake. So bad luck to him.
So no points tonight for Dane Warren, and surely that'll be one of the 2 races that he drops when it comes time to drop your worst 2 races out of the opening 4 rounds of the championship. The pit stop sequence cycled through. Josh Rogers just held on to the lead over his teammate Jared Filsell. Great fight for third behind them as well, with Madison Down hanging on to third over Ethan Grigult, pushed all the way home by Jake Burton. And these two are looking very, very strong in the championship. We've also got Josh lined up for a chat. We talked to Josh earlier off the back of qualifying. Now we get to chat to you as another race winner. Josh, that was a really nice race. Well done. But the battle between you and Jared, that got pretty fiery.
Yeah, not wrong. Obviously, it was really, really interesting with the undercut. It was a lot more effective than what I anticipated it to be. Obviously, I couldn't kind of guess when he was going to pit and go for the same lap. So I knew it was going to be tight, but obviously the cold tyres made that interesting. I knew all I had to do was try and hold on until the tyres came up to temperature, and then from then on, just build that kind of second or so buffer, and then just try and hold it there for the rest of the race.
Yeah, how long did the tyres take to come up? Because we discussed that pre-race, and you anticipated it would take longer than usual because of the circuit conditions?
Yeah, so because of the track temperature being so cold, obviously there's less temperature in the tyre, and it probably took roughly 3/4 of a lap for them to start the switch on, and then by the end of the outlap, pretty much they're back up to normal working temperaturing.
You'll be off the back of the grid for the Laguna Seca race. How do you see that playing out? Can you make up a few moves from the back?
Yeah, so obviously it's going to be interesting. I believe it's Watkins as a reverse grid, but yeah, obviously, we've got some long straights there to make some moves, and it's going to be quite hot track conditions, or at least that's what it's predicted to be. So undercut should be really, really strong, but also if you do it too early, obviously it's going to hurt you later on in the race too. So strategy is going to be important, especially starting from the back as well. There's some opportunities to get some easy passes there in the pits, but all in all, we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it's exciting.
All right, the Monza reverse grid race a couple of weeks ago was really good. Well done, Josh. Converted that pole to the win. We'll let you get back into it and focus on what's to come race 2 very, very shortly. But now it's time to check out our very first Shannon's classic moment of the evening. Well, we saw the 2 teammates battle once again. They were fighting at Bathurst. They were fighting again here as well at Sonoma. And I think it has to be the 2 Mobil 1 Walkinshaw Andretti United teammates. How about this
what a
fight
battle
after they came out of the pits?
This was awesome. This is what we want to see. Really spirited racing between the 2 of them. Even a bit of a touch there. We thought that Jared might have made his move here, but no, it was Josh that hung on for that. But Walkinshaw Andretti coming together, but in a good way.
Yep.
Both cars stayed on track and finished first and second.
He made his intentions pretty clear with the defensive driving there, Dylan.
Yeah, very defensive, and he had to make sure he gets off the corner as well. Otherwise, Jared can slide straight down the inside. Very challenging, but he knew what was going on. He said 3/4 of a lap, and he knew he had the pace to go on with it. So well done to Josh.
All right, remember at the end of the night, you could vote for that moment. Is that your favourite? Well, we've got 2 more moments to find out a bit later, but that wraps up our very first Shannon's classic moment tonight. All right, well, time to check out exactly how that all washed out. And it was an exciting 20 minutes, just 9/10 of a second separate the two teammates. Further down the field, you picked up Brenton Hobson, Briony, in the only Ford. That was a really good drive near the back of the grid to drive up a bit further up the field.
Yeah, absolutely. A good job from Brenton there. And I think that'll bode well for him in the next race. Brady Myers in 7th there, but as we heard, he will get a penalty for the incident on the opening lap with Emily Jones.
All right, so Dane Warren, remember there, that is a big breaking news story tonight. No points from that race, so that'll surely be one that he drops later on. So we're all set up. Reverse grid racing coming up from Laguna Seca. That's going to be next. A very quick break. Stick with us here. It's the second race of the night, and race 7 coming up very shortly.
Are you a motoring enthusiast? Shannons are giving you the chance to win a trip to London and the 2020 Goodwood Revival, one of the biggest historic motorsport events in the world. Plus, tour through the English countryside in a Jaguar F-Pace for 15 days, visiting historic locations and unique motoring museums, with up to $5,000 spending money for eligible Shannons Club members. Plus, win a new Indian FTR 1200S motorcycle. To enter, get a quote on your special car, spouse's car, daily drive, your bike or home. Take out a new policy for even more chances of winning. Call Shannons on 13 46 46 or go online today.
Our friends at Shannons are giving you the chance to win a trip to London for the Goodwood Revival, a fascinating retro event set in the 40s, 50s and 60s. And there's also the chance to win this beautiful Indian FTR 1200S. To enter, just go to shannons.com.au to request a quote.
Got into sim racing, funnily enough, through going to a historics meeting at Phillip Island. In one of the sheds just outside the track, they, bunch of display cars and, fun little attractions for kids. And right at the end, they had a big old iRacing simulator. It's just one of those things that really catches your attention and got the interest up. Looked up videos on YouTube and just went for it. You can do anything you want. You can be whatever you want. You can drive whatever you want. You can reenact your wildest dreams. all-time easy role model to pick out is Peter Brock. We were quite close with Peter and his family. We spent, quite a bit of time at his house and vice versa. My dad, once upon a time, used to assist in some of the car clubs for HGT, Brocks. So the connection was there, and that's where the friendship was. Even just watching how amazing it was at Bathurst, going across the mountain with his hum up on the seal. It's just absolute inspiration for me. Being with Red Bull Holden Racing Team has been an amazing experience so far. Hopefully we can get a bit of background inside, small things like car setup or reading data from race runs or something, probably provide us with just that little bit edge that we need over the competition. The affiliation with Supercars is one of its kind at the moment. To win this series would just be amazing.
He is a very competitive young guy. He's driving for the Red Bull Holden Racing Team, and he's probably pretty filthy on himself right now for what happened in the first race of the night, the first DNF of the year. Time to switch our attention to the second race of the night. We are really looking forward to this one. We're going to go racing at the Glen. This is one of the cool tracks anywhere around the world. Former Formula One circuit, regular in the NASCAR Tour, and a track that I reckon Supercars would just be a lot of fun at. Let's go for a ride and talk us through it. Dylan, this is another track with a lot of undulation. The American tracks are really, really similar like that. They love hills.
It sure is, and it's an exciting layout. I mean, turn one, you can use a lot of that exit runoff, but you've got to make sure you get back on before the grass, otherwise you might get a slowdown. So through here, fast and flowing, and if you get right up behind another car, you can have an overtaking opportunity into the chicane. And this chicane is super tricky to get right through here because you want a straight liner, and that's what the feeling inside of the car, but it's super easy to cut the course as well and get a slowdown on entry into this loop that sends you back towards the end of the lap.
You've got to be very, very careful not to cut that chicane because you will have to jump on the brakes and could ultimately ruin a race or lose one or two spots. So that was one of the hard parts of this circuit to figure out, but there maybe might be a good braking and passing opportunity on the way up to that inner loop chicane. Last couple of corners, really nice camber going through the last sort of turn 5, turn 6 region, and then pit entry over the right-hand side. It's a very quick lap compared to what we just saw. So a few more laps for this one. I think 20 laps this one. Should be nice and exciting. This is how they're going to line up. And it puts Josh Muggleton on the pole. Remember, it's reverse qualifying order. And that means Josh Rogers. So we're bookended by the Joshes again off the back of the field to the Night Rider Motorsport team. And a reminder, that's the team that do all the liveries on these cars for real inside the game. They do such a great job with that. And they have the pole for this race. Briony, this is Josh's chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. I love these reverse grid races. Obviously, we've got Brady Myers from the Fox Sports Racing team off of the front row. Then Brent Hobson from Team Raw and Emily Jones. Let's see if she can redeem herself from the bad luck that she encountered in the first race. Making contact with Brady, I should say. Well,
Yeah.
She's starting behind him, so...
Yeah, right. Bit of a get even, maybe.
Payback.
Yeah. So it's an unusual scenario with the reverse grid. We flip the qualifying order instead of taking the earlier race results. How do we think this is going to play out? Well, we know we've got some very fast guys off the back. Who's going to be brave enough to pit early? That'll be the big question. We heard Josh Rogers sort of allude to that earlier because there's going to be so much of a chance to get a big undercut. How early can we really pit? I mean, we saw guys coming in lap 2, lap 3. Do we think we'll see some pretty early pit stops here?
I think we will. I mean, this lap is so short, so track position is going to be key. And these guys can get out in front and try and make up some good ground on fresh tyres. So I'm sure the same strategy will work, and maybe Jared and Josh might do the same thing to try and get through the pack a lot more quickly.
This would actually be a really cool track for Supercars to visit. It's one of the ones we often have the discussion in Fanland, where would you like to go visit? Which American tracks would be cool? Obviously, we did Texas a few years ago. But Watkins Glen seems really well suited to a supercar. Maybe doesn't have the big braking zones that it might like, but it should be a lot of fun to race around there.
Yeah, it sure would be. And I mean, there's lots of fast and flowing sections through this track. So tricky in a supercar in real life, and also it will be on iRacing too. So through that first sector and also the last sector, you'll want a really well-balanced car, especially, and good on tyres. So we'll see what happens.
All right, so remember, we're racing at Watkins Glen. We're looking at this amazing circuit, which is based about 400 kilometres outside of New York City. There's been plenty of racing in supercars recently as well to talk about. From Tail and Bend through to Bathurst, it seems like it's been something of a blur. So let's recap some of the highlights we've seen recently in the Supercars Championship as we get ready to queue them up at the Glen.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
The Bend Motorsport Park in South Australia erupts once more. Nice start from Will Davison and Jamie Whincup. McLaughlin's gone nowhere off the start and drops back into third spot.
Long race, mate. Just getting through from there. Tyre pressures are coming up.
Winterbottom now off the road on the approach to turn 3.
Just been cleaned up. Copy that, mate. No worries, no worries. Just the damage. See how it feels.
All right, Tim, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go. We'll get it back. Come on.
Nice work, mate. Tickford started using their tyres up after lap 6 yesterday.
I just went off. Any dramas, mate, or you're right? Oh, good. Yeah, I just got... This lady went off in front of me and brought some dirt onto the track. Then I went off. Back on.
Pace is really good, buddy. Fastest car on track the last couple laps. Good job. Be careful at turn 7. A couple of cars have just speeded off through 7 and 8. Really need to get the pressure on, mate.
Try, mate.
Hit. Mate, pace is pretty good, mate. Just a few Mustangs quicker than us, so eyes forward, let's keep focused, please. Okay, mate. Putting the tap, please. Putting the tap for a drive-through. I'll explain when you're in the lane. It's not your fault, mate. Team error. But you got mega pace. We're going to come out and clear air. Let's be judged by how we recover from this situation. Not being hot-headed now. Let's be judged how we recover.
Mate, I'm struggling.
Nothing, mate. Not being long to go. That's 10 laps complete.
Not long to go. Unfortunately, it's a long race.
Great job, mate. Just keep bringing these tyres up and you two push away from the field.
Just move out of the way.
Yeah, mate. Just get it cold. Just be patient.
Okay, Tim, Andrew behind us. He's in pole position. He's faster than us. Just let him through. He's on a different strategy. Yeah, mate, just push me off. Yeah, we'll just need to replay.
Hit this lap, Will. Hit this lap, mate. Hit this lap.
Oh, mate, had a massive airborne spike.
That cough may well have cost Will Davison a victory this afternoon.
It's going to be close with McLaughlin on exit, mate, depending on how much we lost with that fire. So just keep it up, head down. This is us to the end. Close with McLaughlin on exit. I need to do. I can try and win the race.
You're winning the race. We just need to manage the tyres. 20 to go. Good pace.
Mate, what's going on here? Yeah, I don't know what's happened there. Mate, he just drove me into the grass. How many laps to go, mate? How many laps to go?
7 to go next time by. Will struggling with a lot of push.
Okay, Steve, there's 3 laps to go. Hang in there for me. He just turned in on me. I don't know what he's doing.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Press on.
If I don't get a penalty, I owe my teammate.
I understand your frustration, Steve. Let's press on and we'll discuss it when you bring it back. Come on.
You have to get a penalty. So annoying.
So for the second successive day, Scott McLaughlin prevails in South Australia.
Yeah. Great job, Power. Ryan. Fantastic job. Awesome weekend. Cruise and collect. No burnouts. No worries. Good job, boys. Well done. Good stop. Again, awesome. Good strategy, safety there. Thank you. We worked out where the podium was yesterday when you won that one then, so great job, mate. Awesome weekend from 12 months ago. Great job.
That was the radio days, taking you back to August at the Bend. Dylan, you were there working with the Porsche guys, with Dean Cook and your fellow Porsche mates, a series that you used to run in. Really, really cool venue. Love the radio days packages. Your first chance to see that one, maybe?
Yeah, it's great to listen to what the guys have to say. I mean, we do get a bit hot-headed during the car, and we love to see what we're feeling because you think at the time no one else is hearing, but as we see, everyone at home gets to see that in the end. Yeah. So very funny to watch.
There's always someone listening. You forget how much tempers flare even within teams quite often
I know.
too.
Yeah, well, we saw the Walkinshaw and Andretti United teammates on track for real, battling it out, similar to what we just had happening earlier in the game. You've had a chance to work in Super 2 now with last year's championship-winning engineer and in the championship-winning team at Gary Rogers Motorsport. How has that experience been? And particularly working with such an experienced guy in Dave Swinson.
Yeah, I mean, the team have been excellent with me this year. I mean, first year in a supercar, the cars are very unique and extremely hard to drive. So enjoying the challenge, but Dave is bringing me up to speed slowly but surely. I mean, Bathurst, the last round, we finished 6th, so it was pretty solid. P5 in the championship at the moment, which is pretty steady, but I'd like to be a bit further up. So 2 more rounds remaining with Sandown and Newcastle. So I think we'll look to move forward a little bit more. Some challenging circuits within Newcastle. I've never raced there before. Really looking forward to getting there. It'll be tough on me, tough on the car. So hopefully finish on a high is my key this year.
And speaking of looking forward, I mean, the question has to be asked, what are your plans for 2020, and particularly with the announcement of Gary Rogers Motorsport that's just recently come out? There was no mention of their Super 2 plans, but do you have plans for next year already?
Yeah, great question. I mean, my focus at the moment between me and my team is just do the best job I can within the categories that I'm racing. So try and finish off as best I can and then assess the options at the end of the season.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's a few things going on behind the scenes. I've just got to lay out what my focus is. Obviously, Supercars is the best category in Australia, so that's what I want to race. I've been watching it my entire life. Supercars is my focus, so we'll see what we can do. I mean, there's plenty of pieces to the puzzle that are yet to be put into place. But, yeah, my focus for me this year, I've got 3 races remaining in some championships. So do the best job I can within them and see what the opportunities are at the end of the season.
How have you found taking on a driver coaching role that you've now been working with Dean Cook in the Porsches? How have you found that being the guy on the radio, on the other side of the radio?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being a driver coach and / engineer. So it's a great challenge. And from a driver's point of view, it actually makes you understand what goes on behind the scenes. And you get another understanding of how driving technique is so important with these cars. So I've raced Porsche Carrera Cup the last 3 seasons, and getting that experience through the Porsches, I want to give back. And Dean's been a great supporter of mine in Super 2, so give back to him going back to all of his races this season. We got the finale this weekend at Gold Coast. I'd love to see him on the podium this weekend, so best of luck to Dean.
Obviously, I want to see you in a race car as long as you can be, but would engineering be a pathway that you might explore if you couldn't keep the dream going in supercars?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I haven't thought of that. I've really enjoyed being a driver coach. It makes you feel well valued within the team. It's an important role. I mean, drivers, the setup of the car is so crucial. However, extracting the most from the driver is so important. And I mean, giving back from my point of view has been excellent. And I think it's been a great advantage for Dean this season. And it's great to get those results.
All right, nice work. Well, we are on the grid and ready to go at the Glen. This is race 6 in the championship. And it's all go with Dane Warren off the pole. So they have actually reversed the race 1 order to set them up. So down through turn 1, and it is the Red Bull Holden Racing team who lead us away. So it's actually worked out okay then. And being able to get back on track and at least finish that race instead of actually getting a proper DNF means that he was able to then get the pole for this race. So nice work from the Red Bull Holden Racing team.
For sure, he'll be enjoying this. I mean, he knows that he's got the pace underneath him. He'll just be putting his head down and trying to build this gap as big as he can, because this is a race win up for grabs.
Down to the bus stop chicane. And this is another big opportunity now for Emily Jones as well, locked in there in second. How dearly would she love a podium, and her fans, of which there are quite a few online, big Emily Jones following. Her YouTube channel is huge, her Twitch channel is popular, and they'd love to see her on the podium today.
She'd love to see herself on a podium.
Yeah, it's probably true. It's definitely hard earned. Richard Hampstead, that was close to the back of GRM cars in the Sol Ford.
Yep.
In the Next Level Racing Sims team. That was very, very close. A huge amount of mid-corner speed on this track. It's a very, very fast-flowing circuit. And it's Dane Warren looking for, dare I say it, some redemption off the back of what happened early tonight at Sonoma.
Jared's already made up his position as well.
In the background, there was action coming through turn 1. I think it was Hobson and maybe Rogers getting together. Just caught the edge of it. But I think that was my initial gap on that one. It might have been definitely one of the Walkinshaw cars involved. Maybe it was Jared Filsell. So Rogers going for a lap 1 pit stop. So that is as early as you can get. So he gets way out of there.
He's going to make up some good positions in this. I'd be interested to see if he can hold on.
And also Brent Hobson. So big moment for Hobson, and Jared Filsell second in the points, caught up in this one as well.
Oh, that's a real shame.
So that was big, and Rogers has already pitted on lap 1.
That's as aggressive as it gets.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Massive.
So how is this all going to wash out? I think it's already, dare I say it, between him and Dane Warren. Because Dane Warren's got clean air as well. So the two guys with the clean air are going to really open up a bit of an advantage.
For sure. Emily's holding in there really well, so credit to her.
doing a really, really good job sitting in there in second spot. Jake Burton looked like he was down the inside of someone down there at turn 1. And I think he's put Brady Myers down a spot as they run up over the hill and through the S's. Oh, Warren got the dirt, maybe the fence as well. So eyes down and trying desperately to open up a lead right now.
Very tricky in the supercar to go flat out through those first couple of S's. You can do it in qualifying, so I'm not sure if these guys will be doing it in the race. You might have to listen on the onboard to see if they're lifting out as their tyres start to phase out throughout this race.
A lot of people may have driven this track in multiple different games and multiple different cars, whether it be iRacing, project cars, R-Factor, doesn't matter. There's so many different ways that you can drive the Glen. And most of the time it is flat up through those S's, but
it is, yeah.
In a supercar, very, very difficult.
Very cool layout, this one. Nice and flowing. It might suit different driver styles as well. I mean, the first race we saw at Sonoma, a bit more aggressive. This track, you've got to look after your tyres and be very smooth.
So there's been some more pit stops as well. So a number of drivers going for early stops. The leaders going around for another lap. Warren, Jones, Muggleton, the top 3. Ian Ford putting the pressure on. We've got more pit stops happening here as well. And that is the 28 of Richard Hampstead in the lane. And watch out for Josh Rogers and the crew to come flying past on the front straight. What sort of advantage will they get? Here they go out of the pits, and watch for the leaders. There they go, down on the right-hand side. So very, very tight. So it looks like Hobson's still in the lane after the damage picked up on the beginning of lap 2. So Warren's opened up a 1 second lead. When will he pit? Does he know that Josh Rogers has come in? Remember, no spotters, no help of any way, no engineers, similar to what we just heard in the Radio Days package at the Bend. So you have to be race car driver and engineer all at once. And that was a really, really good lap from Dane Warren. 1:10.6, so 3/10 opens up over Emily Jones on that lap. Go on board with Jake Burton. As the dust gets flicked up, I love that. That's super cool. You can hear it rumble under the car. Is he flat through here?
Nah, he's lifting for sure. Getting understeer up behind other cars, and also being that close, all the temperature from the car in front is really cooking those front tyres. So undercut will be key here. So I'd look to see Jake maybe coming in this lap if he's getting frustrated behind this car.
These guys are doing 1 minute 10.8s. Josh Rogers doing 1:10.5s at the moment. So Rogers is about 3/10 of a second quicker than the drivers on screen. The only guy going at his pace is the race leader with 1:10.6s. So it's going to be pretty tight between Rogers and this pack after they've all served their pit stops.
This is a good pack, though. Emily, Josh, Ian, and Jake here, all red hot battle. It's really good to see.
Burton pits, getting out of that train, losing too much time, caught up in the traffic. So Jake Burton and the Brad Jones Racing team come in. Now the drivers who have already made their pit stops are already coming through the outer loop, which means they've got 2 corners to go before they're in the front straight. They're coming onto the front straight now, and it'll be very tight between them and Jake Burton. Oh, and almost in the fence. I think that was
wild.
Muggleton. So Jones doing a really good job, and a bit of oversteer from Muggleton, who's getting very impatient, trying to get around Emily Jones. And I think Jake Burton's actually come out ahead of the drivers in that pack, so that's really important for him.
He sure has, and he had good pace earlier, so he'll be just putting his head down. He's got clean air, try and make the most of it and try and get through these next few guys and see where he comes out after the pit stops are all unfolded.
Anyone else going to pit here? Yes, Muggleton in, and Warren. So the race leader decides to pit. And Jones and the Boost Mobile team stay out. We've seen this from Ian Ford. He's one of the last to pit in just about every single sprint race we've had so far. He was the last to pit at Bathurst as well. On board with Richard Hampstead. Now he's third in the queue of cars who have pitted. Jake Burton, you can just see him up the road. Then it's Rogers, who's picked up a bunch of spots here. We're about to find out how many. Now, where do they come out in comparison to Dane Warren? Dane Warren will be just about at pit exit now. Watch for him to appear on the right-hand side when they come through turn 1. And they've just got out ahead of Jake Burton, so not too much of an undercut there at all. So tight between those who were first into the pits. Josh Muggleton looking pretty good here as well. First of those cars to have pitted as Jones makes the really late call to pit. So back on board with this big battle of cars, and they're all queued up behind, I think it's Josh Muggleton. And he has got Jake Burton pouring the pressure on. So that's for the effective lead of the race out of those who have already pitted. And where does Emily Jones come out in comparison to this pack? There she goes now as Burton goes for the lead at turn 1. That's a good move.
Well done.
Oh, and just gets the overlap at the corner exit. So they go running side by side up through the S's. This will be cool. Can they hold on? Not quite. Burton the race leader. Emily Jones is back in the middle of this, and this is on. This is a fiery battle pack.
This is fantastic. That was actually a good rejoin by Emily. She came up higher than I thought she would, and Josh Rogers just managed to skip past her on that rejoin.
And out of nowhere, Brady Myers in this pack as well, and the Fox Sports entry on for his best result. The two Walkinshaw cars are buried deep in this pack, so this is really working out nicely for an exciting finish. And Jake Burton, the effective leader of the race, but we're still to see Ian Ford pit. And how did Dane Warren lose so many spots in that pit stop process? Oh, contact! And that was Muggleton hard into the fence, and it was off the bumper of the Fox Sports car. So gloves are officially off at the Glen. And he's going nowhere.
Stuck in the fence.
That was huge. He's stuck on the racing line down there. Needs to get that car moving. As Ian Ford stays out there, and that is Muggleton's chance at a podium gone.
That'll be a penalty handed out after the race for sure.
So what happened to start that? We know the two drivers involved, but we don't know how it happened.
Defensive blocking by Myers, and then there was overlap, so straight into the fence.
Great to have Dylan O'Keefe on the desk tonight. We also have a driving standards observer as well watching the action, Craig Dontis, regular in the Super Utes. And that was dramatic, and what it has done is given Jake Burton just a bit of breathing room. Well, Monza and race 2, the reverse grid race, was the best of the first races, the first round of races in night 1, and this has definitely been the best that we've seen since, as Ian Ford and the Boost Mobile team pit. And this is a chance here for Ian.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, he's had great pace. See how he comes out of the pits in this one. I'm sure it'll be tight, and if he is in traffic, he's going to have to merge his way in there before that fast S to start the lap.
His last lap was a 1:10.7. Last lap for Burton, a 1:10.8. So he's had the pace on the leaders. Burton down the front straight. Can Ian Ford get this car dropped and away? It's going to be pretty close at the exit, but Jake Burton should just about take this.
He's going to be close.
Very close. He slots in behind him. So Ian Ford to second now.
He's going to have fresh tyres now too. So wait for those tyre temperatures to neutralise, and then he should have a great car underneath him. And hopefully he can try and pressure Burton.
He's going to have a pretty fired up Jake Myers and Josh Rogers. Josh Rogers, who started last, fighting for a podium. And Rogers with a really big run down the back straight. Through to the inner loop.
Side by side through there they were. Let's see where they come out.
Oh, and Brady Myers off the road.
So wow, Brady is having a shocker tonight.
Oh, it's Myers who actually went off the road. So my mistake. I saw the red up the road and thought that was Rogers who went through, but Myers definitely involved in this one as well. He was on the defensive. That's given Ian Ford a slight bit of breathing room.
That's exactly what Ian needs. I mean, as you exit the pits and you got cold tyres, it's pretty nerve-wracking as a driver because you know you're vulnerable and you just got to wait for those tyres to come up. There's nothing you can do about it.
Man, I think we need reverse grid races every race. This is really good stuff.
This is an outstanding drive by by Jake Burton. He's had 2 top 5s so far. He's looking at his first podium, potentially first win. And considering that he's not feeling well, as we've already discussed, feeling a little under the weather this week, he's been really struggling. Probably hasn't had the testing and the time on the sim that he'd like. Here's the replay of that contact.
So Dylan, what's happened here?
Yeah, just a racing incident. I mean, it was an aggressive move, but yeah, the door just shut on entry. It's hard to say who had the right line there.
Yeah, that was a tough one to ping entirely on Brady in his defence.
Yeah, Rogers thought he might have yielded, but he definitely wasn't. We know how aggressive Myers is, and he's not going to give up any track position.
He's desperate for some points, that's for sure. So that drops Rogers back to 4th, and maybe with some damage. There was a bit on in the background as well. Drivers side by side. It might have been Phil and Warren. Still unsure how Warren dropped all those spots during the pit stop. He was the leader of the race.
Yeah, he was, and he was doing good lap times as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happened there once the race is finished. We can have a look.
Maybe just had a slow stop.
Yeah, maybe. The Red Bull guys must have had an issue.
Well, here is that battle. Madison down, Ethan Griggle, and that is Dane Warren in the middle. So we've got that move stuck on Madison down, trying to march back through the pack. This has been race of the night. I feel for Josh Muggleton. He was on for a really good result. Would have been his first podium potentially. Now down again on the back of Dane Warren. Can't quite make a move at the inner loop. Has to be patient. I think Craig Dondas is going to be a pretty busy man off the back of this one.
Yeah, he sure is.
There's a lot to look at. So, Logitech data showing speeds of over 200 kilometres per hour. 5th gear, do we get 6th before the left-hander? Just. And then back down through 3rd gear. Well, Jonathan Simon watching the action down in Melbourne. This has definitely been the most aggressive race we've seen so far in the championship.
And it began on lap 1. I think Brenton Hobson actually false started the event, so it caused him to have a very long pit stop, and he's about 20 seconds down on the rest of the field. So not the best of events for Hobson before the lights even went out.
Right.
For Warren, I'm really not sure what happened to Dane. I mean, the pit stop went 5 seconds longer than it should have, so unless he had some damage that the team needed to repair, that's the only reason I can think of. But now we have a battle for the lead.
Here we go, and it's on at the inner loop. Nice work, Jonathan, down there watching the action on iRacing. The fight for the lead is well and truly on. There was a couple car lengths between them through the inner loop, but there was multiple seconds, only a couple laps ago. So Ian Ford has reeled in the Dunlop car. It's Brad Jones Racing versus Boost Mobile Racing. Gary Rogers for the race win tonight.
Yeah, his tyres have come up to temperature, and look, Jake knows he's a little bit vulnerable. He had an early stop, so Ian's going to be using the best of the tyres that he has in these last final few laps. So go in, I mean, go for it. You've got the race win up for grabs. You can drop your worst race, so you've got nothing to lose in this one.
Needs to have a crack now. 5th at Bathurst, his best result of the year. And how defensive is that down the front straight? He goes later on the brakes.
He'll be looking to get the over and under, I reckon. Oh, not quite.
Couldn't quite get that car turned back in to get the overlap up the hill. So the pressure is on. And if they keep this up, it might turn into a 3-car fight. Brady Myers 1.3 seconds back. And then there's a big train of cars fighting for 3rd. Turn 1, probably the best passing opportunity. Only spot that we've seen Burton go really defensive.
Car's got really good flow through that section as well, so he can put it where he wants, and he'll be just trying his best to get off this corner as well as he can to set up through that final section through there to set up for turn 1.
Did you think Brad Jones is watching online at the moment?
Well, he was
potentially his charge could get his first race win, the Gfinity Supercars Eseries. I'll bet you someone's turned the website on for him, turns the computer on, and probably Macca. Yeah,
Macca's a huge iRacing fan, has an account. And we'll go back down the front straight. So will he go defensive once more? Dying laps of this race at the Glen. Doesn't need to go defensive this time. Has just enough of a buffer. Still the pressure pouring on. We had Brad Jones live in the studio for the first round. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cheer on his boy.
It's great seeing the teams get behind it too, because it's great involvement, and I mean, it's showing. So I reckon next year there'll be a massive input from teams to have more cars on the grid. So 12 of the best in Australia at the moment, but look, defensive at the moment.
Burton parking that car on the right-hand side. Ford trying to go around the outside. Lost a lot of momentum, nearly ran off the road.
Hopefully that's not a cut course for Ian. Yeah, he's slowed down a little bit.
Oh, that'll be hard to try and make that back up again. So if you do cut through that chicane, you have to slow down. The game penalises you.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I mean, sort of handed Jake the win now. So well done to those guys for having aggressive racing. I mean, it was unlucky for Ian because he was just trying to put the car in the right position, got some understeer and ran wide for that section. So anyway.
Now the fight for third. So Rogers, could he possibly drive to the podium from the back of the grid? We know he's in good form, but that is crazy. He's eyeing off Brady Myers. Turn one, not going to make it happen. And we start the last lap of the race. So tries to chase him up the hill. He's got a pretty good run on the Fox Sports car. A really good run, but just no room to make it work. Myers will go defensive here. These two have already been into each other, and now he's on the opposite side of the road, so he can return serve if he can stay there, and it's on in the background between Madison Town and Dane Warren, so little spot fires breaking out. And he's just about got some overlap to the inside at the outer loop. Actually, he's got more than a bit of overlap. He might make this stick. That's a really good bit of driving and good room given between the two.
Myers has the inside for this one, so should be able to hold it through here and hang on to the podium spot. Wait and see.
Does he run him out of road? No, he gives him a heap of room.
Yeah, very lucky there.
Yeah, Rogers will probably return the favour in the last corner. Oh, that's an awesome bit of driving from those two. As Jake Burton picks up his first win, and the first win for Brad Jones Racing and Dunlop. Great effort from the West Aussie. And that is a big, big drive. He's under the weather tonight. And Myers held on by 1/10 of a second at the stripe. Really good racing between those two in that fight for third.
Lots of respect. That was side by side through the last 4 corners.
That was
great
cool
to watch.
Very, very good racing through the field. Gee, we didn't really know where to watch then. And Ian Ford picks up his best result. And that is a nice drive, his first podium of the year. And Brady Myers, there could be a little bit of an investigation to what happened between he and Josh Muggleton, but you get the feeling that was either way a very well-earned third place.
Oh, that was a great race to watch. Jake and Ian up the front, both battling for, their first race win of the season. Good to see. And Jake getting the win. Congratulations to him and all the Brad Jones Racing team. They'll be pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, that was a wicked drive, but he had plenty of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very intense race. I'd be interested to see what happened to Dane there. I mean, I think he hit the wall in the first couple of laps of that first S section, which might have cost him some time on repairs. So he'll be kicking himself. 2 races that he's lost a podium position pretty much. So, no, well done to Jake. Had a great battle there with Ian. So Ian put the pressure on him. Didn't work out as well as he hoped, but still seconds, great points for the championship. So well done to all of those guys.
Yeah, it shows you that the tiniest errors can have the biggest punishment. That's 2 from Dane potentially tonight that have cost him overall, and he could have been running definitely for the race win then.
That's the thing, and I mean, these guys are the best in Australia, so if you lose 1 second, you lose a couple of spots. Like, there's nothing to it, so great to watch, very intense, which we knew tonight would be. I mean, sprint races, hang it all on the line, see where you come out.
Yeah,
makes me kind of miss reverse grid racing in the main game, because that's the sort of excitement we used to get. We did used to have some of the reverse grid racing in Super 2 as well back in the day. How do you reckon you'd go with reverse grid racing now?
I mean, the teams might not like it too much because of a bit of a carnage.
Yeah.
But anyway,
because it does this.
Makes for great racing.
Yeah. Let's relive the highlights of race 6 in the championship, race 2 tonight at Watkins Glen in New York. And this was a really cool race. It was Dane Warren off the pole because he finished last in the opening race, and further in the background, that was a big moment. With that was
Hobson.
Hobson getting turned around and having heavy contact, and that was the moment there with Muggleton and Myers, and maybe Muggleton moved over just slightly in the braking zone and really hooked that fence. Tough to see.
Yeah, caught in the fence there, so it'd be interesting to see if Craig does anything about that one.
So out of the pits, and it was Ian Ford sliding into second, just behind Jake Burton. He had some really good car speed. Then this fight between Josh Rogers, who's we're fighting on board with, and bang, side-to-side, door-to-door contact with Brady Myers. So a couple there for Myers. And I hope he gets off, because he's already had 3 penalties this year. He needs a good race result.
He's aggressive, so it's great to watch. I mean, Robin's racing, so well done to those guys.
I felt like the gloves came off a little bit in that sprint race. We were talking about them all being very respectful of each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like now it's crunch time. Now they're like, all right, well, I was going to give you a little bit of room earlier on, and now, no, I shut the door on you.
It's almost as if the one-on-one battles are very respectful, and then we're in the pack and everyone's sort of all in there together. That seems like it's, I don't know, each man for themselves.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's every man for their own. And you don't want to lose heaps of positions. If it's 1-for-1, there's a bit of respect. But when they're coming out of the pits, you've got to go for it. I mean, if people are vulnerable, you've got to make up the spots.
All right, so Jake has said that he's pretty much got the plague tonight, Jake. But despite that, you've been able to drive to the victory. I'm looking forward to hearing your voice. Are you a bit croaky tonight?
To be honest, Chad, it's better than it was. But,
okay.
We're getting better, and even better after that awesome race.
You were down at PAX in Melbourne recently. Did you enjoy that? It's one of the coolest experiences in esports.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to see the culture that there is in gaming and that sort of thing, as well as the competitive environment. So I actually got to go last year to compete in a sim event, but didn't quite get to see everything. So this year I got to have a bit more of a look around.
We're just having a look at a replay here of the finish of the race. Jake, are you going to hit Brad Jones up for some sort of race winner's bonus after this race win? Is it in your contract? It should be.
Oh, yeah. Test driving the Super 3 car probably wouldn't be the market too much, would it? But
don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
You obviously race in the Toyota 86 Racing Series. How much of your real racing experience has helped out with your e-racing?
I think it's probably 50-50 in terms of I actually get quite a bit of gain in real life out of the sim racing stuff and vice versa, of course. But, being under pressure in that kind of environment and being on the big stage and having that sort of stuff on the line certainly helps for what we're doing here. As I say, it's not the first time I've raced on Fox. So, awesome to get a win on my belt in this series. And funnily enough, to do it at the same track and in the same sort of way that I first won my race in a similar series last year. So really cool for the Dunlop team.
Well done, buddy. Congratulations. Best of luck for Laguna Seca. That's coming up a little bit later on. He mentioned not the first time he's raced on Fox. He raced Toyota 86 Racing Series this year, went around the outside of Garth Tander.
And haven't we heard about that a million times?
Yes. So I thought that was pretty impressive and definitely deserves a shout out. So well done to Jake Burton and doing very, very nicely in this championship now. And sets up hopefully a pretty exciting race 3 because he should bank some pretty good points from races 5 and 6.
It's been such a mixed bag of results in these first 2 races. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting grid lineup for the finale.
Plenty to look at in that one, and let's see if it's possible at all to pick out a Shannon's classic moment from that race. Well, there was plenty to talk about and really exciting rejoins off the back of the pit stop. So compulsory pit stops, everyone had to take a stop, and we saw some pretty good battles when they all got back out on track. And the guy who picked up the race win tonight was turning on the moves, and this was a really sweet move, getting the job done down at turn 1 as Emily Jones was coming out of the pits. And look at that for a race. Dylan, it all kicked off.
That's intense, isn't it? That's what we want to see tonight. We want to see close racing, pit stop influencing the results, but as well as, close battles. So well done to Jake. Good track position, come out, assertive passes, and he knew he had to get that done. And then he put Muggleton back into the likes of Myers, and then they had their own little battle, which gave him the win. So track position's everything.
Fantastic bit of driving from Jake Burton. If that is your favourite Shannon's classic moment of the night, head to the E-Series website and vote for it. Jake will be able to win $500, and our home viewer will be able to win $500 as well. That is our second Shannon's classic moment tonight. Wow, that was an exciting race number 6 in this championship, and that is how it all washed out, just 0.3 of a second. Burton picks up his first win, Ford picks up his first podium, Myers picks up his first podium, Rogers 4th from 12th, Emily Jones a top 5, lots to talk about there.
Jared Filsell 2nd in the first race, 10th in this race.
Yeah.
So we might find him mid-pack.
That's a good point, So combination of points will probably make his life a bit difficult, I'd say. Like we mentioned, combining those points for the race 3 grid. Either way, Josh Rogers will probably have a pretty good starting position.
You would think so, but this is great to see. 4 winners from our 6 races so far this series. It's been fantastic.
All right, nice work, Laguna Seca. We head back west on the other side of this quick break.
motoring enthusiast? Shannons are giving you the chance to win a trip to London and the 2020 Goodwood Revival, one of the biggest historic motorsport events in the world. Plus, tour through the English countryside in a Jaguar F-Pace for 15 days, visiting historic locations and unique motoring museums, with up to $5,000 spending money for eligible Shannons Club members. Plus, win a new Indian FTR 1200S motorcycle. To enter, get a quote on your special car, spouse's car, daily drive, your bike or home. Take out a new policy for even more chances of winning. Call Shannons on 13 46 46 or go online today.
Trouble here with the wildcard Kostecki brothers entry. This will actually trigger a start delay. The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000, 59th running of the great race. The Battle of Bathurst ignites again.
Oh no, say that in the fence for car 14. To that door is not. There you go.
Chaz Boston, cool move up the inside, P2. Jamie on the dirty side of the road. Does he squeeze into third?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, look after Trevor. So the slightest mistake, you go from first to third. Take the car.
Car number 35 in the wall.
Reed Park.
The safety car. It's crossed up sideways on the run to Reed Park.
Oh, off the road for Rulo.
Oh, Gardner gets out in the grass and goes sideways. Thought about it. Had a big lock up the lane. Touch both. The Tickford cars have come together at the end of Conrod. A disaster. Over and out for Mostyn. You can almost see that coming.
That has gone in massively hard. That's a building. That did not turn right.
Internationals are in the sand trap. There could be trouble over this. If you do that to the field, then you could end up with a pretty severe penalty. It's a bump and grind session all the way down to turn 1 between Stanaway and Jacobson. We've got Heingardner in the fence. It's going to boil down to 6,213 metres of car racing. The fans have gone crazy at the top of the hill. He thinks about where he's going to break. What's he got left in store as he gets to the most critical corner of the country? 26-year-old Kiwi, Scott McLaughlin, wins the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 of 2019.
That was about as big of a great race as we've ever seen. Complete bedlam from start to finish. 161 laps of just pure action. And it didn't stop there. The argument about who did what and what happened and what shouldn't have happened continued for days. Still going now.
Still going.
And it's certainly fired up opinion in the fans. I know already in the Facebook comments on this live stream, people can't help but chatter away about it. But Briony, that day at the mountain was something.
Man, that was mega. I mean, the Bathurst 1000, it just never fails to deliver, does it?
Yeah.
In any which way.
And it's got to be your goal, Dylan, to eventually, say you're on the grid for that race.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be on the grid for the Bathurst 1000. Hopefully in some time soon. I mean, I would have loved to be on the grid this year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I mean, I've got limited supercars experience, so I'll be looking forward to hopefully next year having a good crack and hopefully be a co-driver in the great race.
And your team were really, really close to piecing together an amazing result. We'll start with the 34. I mean, that car was really quick and was good towards the end of the day, but other teams, not so much luck. How about Tickford?
I mean, yeah, that's very disappointing for Tickford. They had two fast cars. I mean, both of them could have been on the podium, if not in contention to win. So, obviously, Waters in disgust with Mostert. So, yeah,
how that one played out. That was huge for Anton De Pasquale. And a whole new car coming now. That was the the Bathurst winning car from a couple of years ago. The reaction from Will Brown, who's watching the live stream tonight, by the way. G'day, Will. Says it all. Anton, thankfully, okay. But that was a big one. And then the moment that changed everything that we know about Australian motorsport just about changed in the blink of an eye. How did this all play out, Briony?
Don't ask me how it all played out. My goodness.
Fabian Coulthard.
I knew how it played out.
Banking up the field. How about this moment from the other Boost Mobile car? Caught up in this one. That was an awkward one.
Yeah, it was. It was awkward. There was a bit of rough racing in that. I mean, it was return serve from Richie, so I'm not sure what happened a couple laps earlier.
Yeah. And that took all the fuel scenarios out of the window. It meant that everyone could pretty much make it home on fuel. Sure. We then had one last safety car, and what a disappointing result that was for Heimgartner and Fullwood, who were awesome all weekend. They deserve such a better result.
Absolutely, they were my dark horse. And then this last run, obviously Scotty McLaughlin taking the win. Oh, it makes me nervous just watching it over again, even though you know the result. And how happy is he? His first Bathurst 1000 victory. He and Alex Premer taking the top step of the 17 Ford Mustang and also the podium.
So first win at Mount Panorama for Dick Johnson in 25 years. First win in the Bathurst 1000 for Roger Penske. Lots to dissect off the back of that, and it's also boosted Scott McLaughlin's championship lead to what is almost an uncatchable position, 622 points over Shane Van Gisbergen, and technically could wrap up the championship Saturday of Gold Coast.
Potentially he could be champion-elect, but stranger things have happened, as we have seen already this year. So, you know, you never say never, and we will find out at the time.
I mean, we just saw a 300-point teams championship penalty.
Yes.
So you never know what can happen, but I mean, that's a pretty big lead, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, that's essentially 2 rounds. So we'll wait and see what happens with Scotty. He's got a great car underneath him. He's driving superbly, so I'm sure he'll be fast this weekend. But I hope Gold Coast always provides close racing, so we'll wait and see. And last year with the weather, anything's possible, which we've seen.
Gold Coast always provides carnage.
Yeah.
Watching some of the highlights back today, I'm like, I think every single driver and team that is on the grid and has been on the grid has crashed at some point in the Gold Coast
a real
600.
bruiser. Yeah. Particularly for the co-drivers who have one 30-minute session.
That's right.
To get their mind into the game. No Super 2 coming up this weekend. We do have Carrera Cup on the Gold Coast. But for Dylan, your year has been really fantastic in Super 2. You're a rookie and you're sitting 5th. So you've got to be pretty impressed with how your rookie season's gone so far. I'm pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, the whole aim for me at the start of the season was to be nice and consistent, obviously learn and adapt to the car. So, he was at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, daunting place in a supercar, and those conditions in quality weren't great. I mean, I would have loved to have a dry qualifying with brand new tyres and have a proper crack, but the team did a great job in the race with strategy. I mean, we got the main game guys essentially, so great strategy, made up 5 seconds in the pit, so I was really happy with that. And then 2 rounds remaining with Sandown and Newcastle. I'll be looking to, hopefully, I'd love to be on the podium, so try and really sneak up on that.
Which one are you looking forward to most? Sandown or Newcastle?
Sandown's a home event for me, so I have all my friends and family there. That'll be a great one. And we're on the soft tyre, so I'll drive better with more grip. And then obviously we got Newcastle to finish off. Pretty scenic, and looking forward to going there. It's a new track for me, and it will be challenging.
Good luck trying to find some time to enjoy the scenery when you're driving around the streets of Newcastle at 200 k's an hour.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Maybe on the cool down lap.
And it's been great to have him a part of the show tonight as well. Like we mentioned, the Gold Coast 600, the Vodafone Gold Coast 600 is coming up. And like Briony mentioned, it is one of the toughest tracks on the calendar. It is going to be a huge, huge weekend. Here's a sneak peek.
The Battle of Bathurst ignites again.
It was the great race that had it all.
Tickford cars have come together. They've got to make speed and they don't have the fuel.
McLaughlin's made a Bathurst title, DJR's first in 25 years. The Enduro season continues. Every practice, qualifying and race with no ad breaks during racing. The Vodafone Gold Coast 600, live on Fox Sports.
So that is what it looks like, and it is going to be a huge couple of days. Remember to tune in on Fox Sports 506 all weekend long to be able to catch the action. We'll also be broadcasting on the Network 10 channel as well. So lots of things to look out for, but we've got the Stadium Super Trucks making a return. We've got Porsche Carrera Cup as well there, as well as the GTs and Aussie racing cars. Lots to look forward to, plus the Super Utes and those 2 big races, plus Armour All Top 10 shootouts. I feel like I'm saying plus at the moment. It's a big event. Tune in and watch it. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, two top 10. Yeah, I've gotten your disease.
Yeah, easy for you to say.
2 top 10 shootouts.
Let's turn our attention to Laguna Seca, shall we?
Let's do that.
And just move straight ahead.
Reset.
Yeah. Back to the west coast of California. And what a cool place this is. Only about 2.5 hours south of where we were racing earlier at Sonoma. This is the Andretti hairpin, so watch out for the Andretti Walkinshaw United cars to go nice and quick through here. Into the dry lake bed, which is turns 3 and 4. No camber on this part of the track, so really, really difficult to get good front turn in. And then you start the climb. It's a really old school racetrack, but definitely one of the most famous in America. And Dylan, it should be pretty cool to see supercars action around here tonight.
Yeah, it sure will be. I mean, it's a unique circuit and lots of different style of corners. So you want a well-balanced car through these flat sections, and obviously a car that can rotate off the hairpin. So this section's nice. I mean, there won't be much overtaking happening through here. It'll just be follow the leader, and then down into the corkscrew is extremely tricky. I mean, super easy to cut the corner, and then you'll get a slowdown. So we'll wait and see through here. High pressure, I'm sure it'll be easy to lock some brakes, but it's key to get a good exit off here, and then you might be able to set up a pass into the final corner, which is the hairpin as well.
That is a 5-story drop from the top of the corkscrew down to the bottom, 10 stories down to the bottom of the Rainy curve as well. So a huge, huge amount of undulation as you run back down towards the start-finish line. Really tight last corner as well, so maybe some sneaky passing maneuvers there later in the race. Once you start to get desperate, obviously it's a bike circuit too, so you've got the bike grid. A really, really fun place to race. And it sets up a grid like this, and with our 2 race winners bagging some points, they'll be off the front row. Ian Ford has bagged some good points tonight. He's 3rd on the grid.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, starting alongside Jared Filsell. His teammate Ethan Gould a bit further down. Brady Myers has held on to a pretty good starting spot tonight. Poor Josh Muggleton, it has not been his night. Back at the grid again. And Dane Warren with some cars to pass as well. He'll be really quick off the back of the grid. So looking forward to that one. Emily Jones coming out of 9th. That is your grid for the final race of the night. Race 7, back in California for Laguna Seca. So a reminder, pit stops and strategies to play out. I think Dane Warren could be a candidate for an early stop.
Absolutely. Well, he's got to try a different strategy, doesn't he, to
Yep.
the race leader. He's got to try something different. Looking forward to this. Jake and Josh, both of our race winners tonight, off of the front row. I mean, Josh obviously has the form, but I don't think Jake is going to give this one away easily. And I'm sure Brad and Kim Jones, who I believe are watching online, are hoping the best for him too. And I have heard that they're heading out into the garage to build a Super 3 car for Jake.
Yes. If you missed this earlier, Jake decided that he believes that his winning prize for winning a race tonight in the E-Series should be a Super 3 test drive. So we do have Kim and Brad watching on right now. So the gauntlet has been thrown down for them.
And I'm sure they're about to text back going, oh, hell no, that's not happening. He can have a free hat.
All right. I'll take it. Let's go racing at Laguna Seca. Watch out for the Dunlop car starting outside row number 1. And we are off and running at Laguna Seca. And that is a really good start from Madison Down. And he picks off Jared Filsell early. And he might just try and sneak to the inside of Ian Ford. He's got the overlap. And he might just take the spot as well. So really good start, Madison Down, from 5th to 3rd in a couple of corners. And it's Josh Rogers, once again, who leads the field, although the fight for 3rd's not over yet. A lot of respect shown between Down and Ford, and this is the best spot to watch it from on top of the roof of Jared Filsell.
Yeah, you can run side by side through these corners, so lots of respect shown on the early laps. We'll be waiting for the race to settle down. Ian's just ran wide there. He'll be kicking himself with that. Now all the drivers are getting up beside him. Even his teammate, Ethan.
I think the train is about to go past him here at the station. Yeah, he's going to lose multiple spots and push wide. That was tight between he and Brady Myers. Brady gave him as much room as he could.
He's aggressive, Brady. You'd be worried if he was in your mirrors.
I like the style. There we go. Corkscrew for the first time. Side-by-side Myers and Hampstead somehow sorted that one out. Huge tank slapper for the Fox sports car. A good catch through Rainy and then down through turn 10. That was a wild, wild moment. Bit on in the background there as well. Looked like Muggleton getting the job on Hobson. Here's Emily Jones to the inside of Brady Myers.
Good move.
That's
Great
a really
move.
good move.
Textbook.
Gets it done. And they'll still go side by side through turn 1 over the hill. So frantic first lap, bit going on. And definitely the pick of the bunch is Madison Down, up from 5th to 3rd. That's a really solid start. No one brave enough to come in for an early pit stop. Remember, we have higher track temps here, so we are expecting higher degradation. And Myers has actually got back around Emily Jones there. And she might lose another spot here because Dane Warren, with a really good run, moves to the inside at turn 4 and makes it stick.
Great move. He noticed those cars ahead of him, had a bit of understeer. They struggled to get to the apex. He made it, got a great exit, and there's another car pass. So hopefully he can have a clean race in this one. First 2 races didn't go his way. Obviously got a fast car underneath him, so hopefully he can make the most of it.
Shows just how damaging the damage is to your race, because it can cost you multiple seconds in the pits for the slightest run. Down through the corkscrew. What a cool corner that is. The fight is on here for 3rd. It's Jared Filsell all over the back of Madison Down. The Shannon's car. Filsell could be an early candidate here for a pit stop, but it's way too early to get home on tyres from here. Big slide from Ethan Gould. You can see Ethan running back up inside the top 5. He's got his teammate behind him. It's not been a great start for Ian Ford.
I was just about to say that. Ian Ford has dropped a few spots, unfortunately, and is being harassed by Richard Hampstead in the lone Ford in the field. But this battle, this is good. Jared Filsell and Madison Down as Emily Jones becomes the first to pit.
Yep, Jones dives into the lane. So we'll drop to the back of the pack. We'll get onto a fresh set of tyres before anyone else, and we'll have a clean racetrack ahead of her. So a chance to maybe pick up some spots on the undercut. Not a bad aggressive tactic when you're down inside the back half of the top 10. It's worth rolling the dice.
Yeah, for sure. You've got nothing to really lose. You can only gain a few spots, so may as well go for it. Be aggressive. See how you come out at the end.
See what that undercut is like, I guess, in a few moments' time. Phil Sells still working the back. Madison Down as we get prepared to climb down through the corkscrew. You can hear the rocks and dirt underneath the car. Takes a really shallow entry into the rainy curve. That's turn 9. His teammate leading the race and doing so comfortably. 2-second advantage. Josh Rogers, he is clutch. Checking out the Logitech data as we round the last corner. It's one of the slowest parts of the track, just 75 kilometres per hour, then pulling gears down this long front straight. A lot of people talk about how exciting the corkscrew is, but a lot of the bike riders really love turn 1 because the whole bike gets light, the front wheel pops up in the air, it's flat out, 6 gear, really cool part of the track.
Yeah, that'd be challenging in a bike. Be pretty scary stuff.
This place is scary enough in an open wheeler, let alone on 2 wheels.
For sure.
On board now, once again, with Jared Filsell.
Helmet cam.
How cool would it actually be if we were able to put cameras on helmets like they do in IndyCar?
Bit of oversteer, dropped a wheel off that corner.
So more cars pitting, and it is Dane Warren who takes the early stop. So Warren out of the pits and ahead of Emily Jones.
It's amazing how set up and how loose these cars are, and they can still be fast. Like Jared has had 3 or 4 moments out of on this lap already, and he's still hanging there with Down. So obviously to have the cars fast, they've got to be loose.
Over the top again. No change for position yet.
That elevation, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, just the graphics on this game to make that translate
Seem what
so
it is.
realistically.
Very cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Josh Muggleton sits in between Emily Jones and Dane Warren. That's Warren out the windscreen. They're the 3 drivers to have pitted so far. This race settles down into a little pattern. Anyone else coming into the pits? Yes. We have Richard Hampstead in the lane. Had an off night for Richard. He was really strong in round 1.
Yep.
I think that's the changing gear as well. When they're all here using the Logitech equipment, we saw such different results to what we're seeing when they're back home in their own sims.
Yeah, you get really comfortable with your own equipment. I mean, I'd hate to know how many hours these guys are spending each week on their own gear. And it's what you're comfortable with. You know how it operates. I mean, having to go on the Logitech gear before, it was excellent, but having everyone on the same gear would be more interesting. And also, these guys are doing their own setups in iRacing for the car, so that plays a massive part in these cars too, to get outright speed.
And I guess even though we do have teams in this series, as in the Boost Mobile Racing Team, Walkinshaw and United, etc., there's probably no setup sharing because it's actually an individual game.
I know, and that's what I was thinking before. I was wondering if Rogers and Filsell would share setups, but then again, there's money up for grabs. Why are you gonna share with them when it's it's each, you're out there for your own. So obviously they've got a ballpark set up they'll muck around with, and then finding those last couple of attempts, that's when it gets difficult. And here comes Filsell into the lane.
All right, so this should be pretty exciting. Will Jared pop out ahead of Dane Warren? It looks like Warren's had his hands full fighting with Richard Hampstead and the guys who were out of the pits earlier, so that might have cost him just a little bit of time.
Sure. And you could see Filsell when he entered the pits, you can cut that gravel section there, and he's gained about 3/10, I think it is. So that's the experience playing into it. He knows where these little secrets are on this track.
I think there is actually a slowdown at the pit exit, so you can get away with it at entry.
Yep.
But Jonathan Simon was telling us that they are quite strict on the pit exit, so you can't quite get away with it down in the last corner. Here is the battle at the rejoin. And there is Brady Myers, who also came into the pits. And here is the 22 of Filsell. And the pressure is on. Through the Andretti hairpin, and he's out ahead of them. So I think these two have lost quite a bit of time fighting each other on that last lap.
that's the thing. You lose seconds fighting each other. So you've got to be smart and plan your race. I mean, it's 14 laps. We're only on lap 6, so try and work together and then fight it out at the end.
Yeah, what might be one position now could ultimately be a net loss of 4 or 5 spots after the pit stops.
A couple in the pits for sure.
That's a really good battle pack, that one. And Brady Myers, we know how aggressive he is, and he's on the fresher tyres. Should be pretty exciting to watch. So now it's up to Josh Rogers and Jake Burton. Can they get their pit stops completed and ahead of Jared Filsell? Looks like there is a little bit of an undercut here to be had. It's not as huge as it was in round 1. Flick the rocks up through the corkscrew.
Need good traction out of there too, so it's a low gear and easy to light up the rear tyres.
Onto the rev limiter for a moment through turn 9.
Hard on the gear. I reckon their engine builder wouldn't be through that.
So anyone else coming into the pits? Yes, we've got one of the Boost Mobile cars in, and also Jake Burton. So he'll be coming out right in this battle pack here. This will be pretty close. Watch for the yellow car to appear on the left-hand side. Here they are.
Yep. Oh, here. Oh, good move.
That was tight between Hampstead and Warren, and I think that's been enough for Burton to clear these guys. Now, did Burton get out ahead of Filsell? Yes, he did. Filsell's lost out a spot as well to Madison Down. So Madison Down, one of the big movers through the pit stops. So they were fighting each other before the pit stops, and afterwards it's exactly as it was.
Yeah, it stayed the same. So there we go. Not too much tyre deg on this circuit, and it's extremely difficult to overtake. I mean, as we saw before at turn 1, it's more pressure racing. You've got to make them outbrake themselves and slide underneath. So super tricky to do when you're racing some of the best drivers in Australia. It's not easy for them to make a mistake, but...
So now the leader pits, and the fight will be on between Josh Rogers and the man we're watching left of frame, Jake Burton.
And we know Josh was a little bit weak earlier in the previous races on that first lap. So Jake just has to be close enough that he can use the warm tyre advantage. But I feel like Josh is going to be too far ahead.
That was a pretty smooth move through the pits from Josh Rogers, and look at the aggressive driving through the pit exit. It's so tight down here. Remember, really designed for motorcycles. So very, very awkward re-entry, and he's absolutely maximised that.
He's got that done really well.
That was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Quickest driver on the track at the moment last time round was Jared Filsell, 124.4. And Dane Warren, 124.7. Brady Myers, 124.9, the only drivers in the 24s. So the race now has gone through the pit stop procedure. Rogers, Burton down the top 3. Then this battle pack between Filsell and Ethan Grigg-Gould, who's just come out of the pits here in 5th. Dane Warren to 6th. I mean, ultimately, that's a pretty good result for Dane Warren off the last row of the grid.
Yeah, that's a good capitalisation on some points.
Yep.
After the disaster that his night started with, he won't be happy with that.
No.
But he's made the most of a bad situation.
Yeah, from 11th up to 6th. Muggleton 12th to 10th is a pretty good move. And Emily Jones filling the pinch. She was first to pit, and those tyres may be going off. She turning around 126.7 last time by, so either that car's got some damage or those tyres are hurting.
And Jared's under pressure too by Ethan, so Ethan's got a good car underneath him, and Jared's not as fast as he's been in some of those other races, so Ethan needs to try and get some good points here.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Warren ranging on the back of these two in a couple of laps either. He seems to have the pace, and he could potentially be fighting for the 4th place.
Oh, that's tight. Loving that sound as they work through the gears. Working lap 9 of 14, last race of the night, race 7. From here we head off to Europe in a couple of weeks' time in the lead up to the Penrite Oil Sandown 500 and the last stop of the Pertec Enduro Cup. Watching that fight for 4th. Filsell under pressure from Ethan Grigg-Gould. Walkinshaw Andretti United versus Boost Mobile Racing. Some pretty cool tracks coming up in the next few weeks. We've got the Nürburgring and Zandvoort And a change to the next round sees Imola replace Le Mans. So we were going to be running at Le Mans. They're probably smart choice to replace Le Mans. It's a very, very long lap round there.
Sure is. It'll be a 3-lap race.
Yeah.
But Imola's excellent. That's a very good track. It's got some tight chicanes, so I know a supercar is great to drive around there on iRacing, so I'll be looking forward to watching that online back at home.
Nice work. Great to have Dylan.
We'll give you a shout out.
O'Keefe on the coverage. Great to have him here. Justin Rouge, you did a really good job a couple of weeks ago on the desk. Scott Pye for round 1 as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have supercar drivers' insights, but also such keen sim racers as well, giving both sides of the story. It's fantastic.
And you've got to keep up with the times. I mean, all the drivers pretty much have simulators nowadays, whether it's for practice, for enjoyment, or even if you're doing online racing, which a few of us do. And it's a great outlet for us because it's not as you're not under pressure as much as you would be in real life circumstances. We can enjoy it. These guys are racing for money. They're going hard, and it's great for us to watch as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. They are racing for real money, and some of these big teams have really cherry-picked their drivers. Certainly, that was the case with Walkinshaw Andretti United and the Boost Mobile team. Oh, that was close. Jared Filsell nearly threw it away then. It's just starting to open up a gap here over Ethan Grigor. Sits Rogers, Burton down the top 3. Flicking up a little bit of dust once again. For the Walkinshaw Andretti United pair, Briony, they're going to be enjoying their weekend. Going to be up on the Gold Coast.
Indeed they are, yes. They'll be in the Walkinshaw Andretti United garage.
We saw Jared at the bend, didn't we?
We did, yes. It's going to be good to have both of them there. And I might actually ask them, Dylan, about whether they do have any team orders or not team orders, I should say, but more setup. Do they share setup and strategy beforehand?
It'd be interesting to know, because I know that when I'm racing back at home, we have the Discord going with our mates in the background, have a bit of a chat, think about strategy as well, when you're going to pit. And you can combine your data. It makes it a lot easier, especially for fuel numbers, tyre data, and stuff like that. So much better working as a team. But in this, you got 12 drivers. I think it's each for their own.
Well, the other fight to watch is the other Boost Mobile car. So the two Gary Rogers cars are on a charge at the moment. And this is Ian Ford. Through the windscreen, it's Dane Warren, and they're fighting for 6th. Pressure is on here. Oh, that's a big slide, and this is a chance. But he's going to have to make it stick at the corkscrew. That is a tough move to make it, and it's not going to happen there. But early pit stop for Dane Warren, so the rear tyres might start to feel the pinch.
Been really impressed with Ian Ford this round as well. He's really been more aggressive than we've seen him in previous rounds. Here he goes.
Here we are. This could be a key moment of the race. He's just thrown that to the inside and makes it stick. That's a really tight spot to make that one work down at turn 11.
And Dane was squeezing him to the inside of the track. He was giving him nothing. So well done to Ian. He knew he would have decided that after coming down the corkscrew. He would have said, last turn, I'm going to get up the inside there, and he's done it. So nice, clean move, and now he can get on with it.
Brady Myers has been able to close up on this pack as well. So 3-car fight.
And you can see there with Dane, he's struggling to get to the apex. He has to keep getting on and off the brake to try and get it in there.
So is that rear locking then?
I think, no, he's just struggling with understeer, I reckon. He's on the brakes and then he's having a couple of goes at it.
Get a little bit more weight over the nose. Get that car turned in mid-corner. 2.5 laps to go. Rogers, Burton down the top 3. And this awesome fight that has been raging for a few laps now. They look really evenly matched for pace. I thought Ford was going to drive away from him. Hasn't been able to do it. We'll go very close through the corkscrew.
Yeah, only a couple of laps remaining too, so this is all out now.
Yep, it's time to go.
See if Dane can do return serve down the inside. Ian will be smart enough, I reckon he'll cover.
All right, let's see. Turn 11, where does he park that Boost Mobile car? Leaves the door open, but the Red Bull car is not close enough. But Brady Myers is now in this as we start our second last lap of the race. The fight for second's getting pretty close too. That is down inside 1 second. Whether or not that's going to kick off in the last couple of laps. So maybe Jake Burton starting to struggle with some tyre life. He looks pretty comfortable where he is. Last time by 125.0 down was 0.3 quicker, so he's still got enough of a buffer. Here's the battle we're talking about. Can he reel him in with a lap and a half to go?
Meanwhile, Josh has just cleared out. After his pit stop, it was about a 3-second advantage to Josh. He's now blown out to about 6.3 seconds over Jake. So he really just needs to cruise and collect for this last lap and a half.
That'll be probably the biggest margin of victory of the year. Would have had it at Bathurst had he not rolled out of it on the last lap for the formation finish. He's the power force in this championship at the moment.
But Jake can take a lot of confidence from this. I mean, he's definitely turned things around these last couple of races, so credit to him, and hopefully he can roll on and really take the championship to Josh. I'd like to see a good fight, and especially at those European tracks.
Starting the last lap, great drive from Jake Burton so far. He's catching the eye of the bosses at Brad Jones Racing. Brad tells me it might be enough to earn a run at a real one, so maybe. That would be
good incentive.
Absolute highlight for Jake Burton, who's proving his worth here tonight, driving for Brad Jones Racing. And Macaulay Jones was really prevalent in helping him to get this ride at Brad Jones Racing. So great work for Jake and the team. And they're pulling some good results tonight. Here's your race leader.
I think we also need to thank Macaulay for setting up the internet for Brad and or Kim.
He actually had his... Well, Brad had his own iRacing account, and it was actually Macca who was on there every night using it.
Yeah, it's because when you set it up, the credit card name goes on it.
Smart kid. Last lap for Josh Rogers, and what is now a 6.7 second lead. He is one of the best sim racers in the world. Just 19 years of age, turning the world absolutely alight. He is the World iRacing Porsche Super Cup champion, which he recently wrapped up with the 30K payday recently. He's also thrown in some 24-hour wins this year at Nürburgring, Daytona, Le Mans, all in the 1 year. He's the VRS GT iRacing World Champion as well. It's a serious resume, and it's growing here as he extends his championship lead and picks up another race win in the Gfinity Supercars E-Series. Your winner of race 7, it goes to Walkinshaw Andretti United, and mark another one down for Josh Rogers. He's on fire. Here comes Jake Burton, a win and a second tonight, so 2 podiums for him. Madison Down gets back to the podium again. Great drive from Madison, showing some speed that we saw at the opening round of the championship. And that all started on the opening lap. He started 5th, made some early moves, and was clutch through the pit stops as well. But it's all about Josh. He is untouchable at the moment. I'm not sure what I'm most impressed with, the 2 race wins or the fact that he nearly drove to the podium from last in the reverse grid race. But either way, that was a pretty stout night.
There's no stopping him, is there? He's super consistent, and especially if he's going to drop his worst races, what is it, a 6th?
A 6th and a 4th so far. He's got 2 4ths and a 6th. The rest are 2nd, 1st and 1st.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to do some serious work and some study for the European races to try and etch that gap. So, no, it's a credit to Josh. I've raced against him. He's a great competitor, and super hard to beat.
When your worst 2 races are a 6th and a 4th, that's...
Yeah, you're doing okay.
Yeah, you're going all right. And they were both the reverse grid races as well, I might add.
Yeah, so that's race win number 3 for the season for Josh out of 7 races so far. So, yeah, absolutely looking good. Took the championship lead after winning the Bathurst endurance race, and it's going to be hard for anyone to reel him back in now.
All right, we've queued him up on Discord for another post-race chat. This is getting to be a very familiar thing. Josh, congratulations, mate. That was a really superb drive. Well done.
Yeah, cheers. You know, we got thrown a little bit of a spanner here with the track temperature, so it was an interesting one to get used to. I think we had mid-40s or so, so it was all about kind of trying to take it easy initially, kind of like you would in a real car, I suppose, trying to really build up to it and gain the confidence over the run. But yeah, all in all, I can't be any more pleased with all the results tonight. The boys put in a lot of effort, and hopefully it's the team enjoyed it.
We're checking out a replay of you crossing the finish line there. You headed to the Gold Coast this weekend, I hear.
Yeah, so obviously looking forward to meet up with the guys at Walkinshaw, as well as Jared. He'll be tagging along at the Gold Coast this weekend, so it'll be good to enjoy some real supercars action and before we get back into it for round 4 in the European rounds.
Is this you live doing the burnouts now?
Potentially.
That's awesome. It's the first winners interview we've ever seen with someone doing donuts. That was awesome. I was wondering why you sounded a bit distracted. Can we ask for some requests? We want to see a perfect figure 8.
Alrighty.
It's turned into an expression session here. Let's give him a mark out of 10 here, Dylan, for the figure 8 burnout.
I reckon he's practiced this before.
Oh, gee, this is pretty good.
Not bad.
All right, he's even given it the Will Davis tap on the fence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, Dylan. Score out of 10 for that one.
Oh, it's got to be an 8. Figure 8, yeah.
Figure 8. An 8 out of 8 for the figure 8. Josh, well done. You're the championship leader. You've got to drop your worst races. A 6th and a 4th at the moment. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, obviously, consistency is the main focus in this championship. Obviously with the reverse grid race as well, much like the Porsche Esports Super Cup, it's always important to make sure that you're scoring good points in those races, because those are the kind of ones where anything can happen. So, those need to be your banker races, and then you can have a little bit more of a go in.
Yeah, I think your drive off the back of the grid at Watkins Glen was even more impressive than the 2 race wins. Congratulations, mate. We'll see you on the Gold Coast this weekend.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Well, that was a pretty good performance, capped off with the perfect burnout.
Love a good burnout.
Yeah,
Who doesn't
by
love
request
a good
now
burnout?
as well.
By request.
Which is pretty impressive. Lots of highlights to break down from Laguna Seca. Watch the green car off the start of the race. That is Madison down in the Shannon's Commodore. And Dylan, that was a perfect start. The 0 to 100 on that would have been mint.
It was. He drove that away superbly. And then, sadly for Ian, he left the door open and lost out a couple of spots there, trying to be assertive to get past Jake. But, sometimes it doesn't go your way at all. So, Madison, he's got the experience. He's been racing these cars for so many years now. He can walk them away and, pick up those spots early on.
Yeah, that was a really aggressive move down the inside in the opening couple of corners. Dane Warren fighting here with Emily Jones in the workplace law entry. Not quite sure what happened, Emily. She dropped off the back of the pack. That car really fell off the cliff. It might have been the fact that the track temp was so high, like Josh was talking about.
Yep.
And then the pit stops. And I call him a kid. This kid was amazing through the pit entrance and pit exit sequence. That was absolutely maximised. Get him out ahead of Jake Burton, who would hold on to second. So a win and a second tonight for Burton. Looking really strong in the championship as well. And all the way to the checkered flag. Congratulations to Josh Rogers, who extends that championship lead. But a few different results to watch out for. They're disappointing for Emily. She rolled the dice with the early pit stop. I guess tyre life might have been the question there.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't quite work out for her, but hopefully we can see better things from her in the next round. Also, Dane Warren, I think he'll be, ruining a couple of, obviously, that key error going into pit lane, which sort of set him back. And then I don't think his tyre strategy probably
played off there as well.
Paid off in that last race either,
He couldn't get much clean racetrack going either, so there was a lot to talk about. And it also is now time to wrap up our final Shannon's Classic moment of the evening. Let's check it out. Well, there were some pretty cool moves placed late in the race, and Ian Ford was a guy on the march. He's a new dad, so I reckon he could probably do with $500. Let's check out how this played out for Ian Ford at turn 11. Late in the race on old tyres. Dylan, that was a cool move.
Yeah, it was a superb move. So credit to Ian. He set it up, and look, he did it superbly well. And as you said, he needs the $500, so give it to him. He's a new dad, and he's driving the Boost mobile car, so well done, Ian.
He's a Gary Rogers boy, so obviously he's got your ticket of approval, Dylan. But Briony, that was a clutch move. Needed to get that one done.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see Ian finding some form this round. And I guess the good news is that fans can now vote for their favourite Shannon's Classic moment.
Got 3 moments, so head to the E-Series website, vote for your favourite, and we will be announcing that on the following episode. You might win yourself $200, $500, I should say. That is our final Shannon's moment of the night. Don't want to shortchange anyone.
Well, I was going to say, the good news is, Brad and Kim Jones, you can vote for your favourite moment, win $500 to put towards Jake's Super 3 campaign that you're now funding.
I'm going to put in an appeal if Brad picks himself up the $500 home viewer prize, especially if he voted for someone who wasn't his own driver. Let's check out the final result, 7.3 seconds. In what was that, a 14-lap race or something? That is an absolute smashing. So Josh Rogers, he is in hot form. Jake Burton driving really well tonight. That's the best night we've seen from him, despite having, as he put it, the plague.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
He'll be very happy with those results. Madison down third, Jared Filsell in fourth, and as we mentioned, a good job by the Boost Mobile Racing guys, Ethan Griggold and Ian Ford, 5th and 6th. Dane Warren, the lone Red Bull Holden Racing Team entry, down in 8th. Richard Hampstead, 9th. Joshua Muggleton, Brent Hobson and Emily Jones all having nights they'd probably rather forget.
Yeah, particularly Josh Muggleton, who was on for a really good result earlier at Watkins Glen. There's a little bit to dissect still off the back of that, so don't go anywhere. It's been a long night, and we're going to wrap it all up on the other side of this.
Are you a motoring enthusiast? Shannons are giving you the chance to win a trip to London and the 2020 Goodwood Revival, one of the biggest historic motorsport events in the world. Plus, tour through the English countryside in a Jaguar F-Pace for 15 days, visiting historic locations and unique motoring museums, with up to $5,000 spending money for eligible Shannons Club members. Plus, win a new Indian FTR 1200S motorcycle. To enter, get a quote on your special car, spouse's car, daily drive, your bike or home. Take out a new policy for even more chances of winning. Call Shannons on 13 46 46 or go online today.
Thanks to Shannons, you could be riding away with this amazing Indian FTR 1200S. Plus, there's also a trip to London up for grabs for the Goodwood Revival, a retro festival set in the 40s, 50s and 60s. There's lots to win. To enter, just go to shannons.com.au to request a quote. It's been a big night of racing. Round 3 of the Gfinity Supercars Eseries, brought to you by Shannons, and 2 out of 3 ain't bad for Josh Rogers. A really sublime effort driving for the Walkinshaw Andretti United team. He even picked up the pole award to boot, and that is a very commanding night, but an entertaining night all the same.
Yeah.
I think Watkins Glen was the highlight.
Watkins Glen was fantastic. Yeah, that was good racing. And I think all the Walkinshaw Andretti United team won't laugh at me.
No, it's fine.
We'll be celebrating. I'm sure Ryan Walkinshaw is tuned in as usual because he loves his online racing.
Yep.
So congratulations to them again, but it's making for a very interesting second half of the series. Can't wait.
Dylan, I know you do a lot of online racing, particularly iRacing, with these guys. What have you sort of picked up about their style tonight and how they race?
I mean, they leave nothing on the table. Like every little bit of that track they use. So maybe I need to take a leaf out of their book, especially unique stuff you can do on sim racing. I saw they're braking on ripple strips and things like that, and especially pit entry and pit exit, they're using every single millimetre, and they've practiced that numerous times, so of course they're going to be experts at it, but great to watch, fantastic to see, and get an understanding for how they drive these cars, and might be a little bit different to what we do in real life, but when I'm back on the sim at home, and try a few of these things.
I think when you race these guys and you have a chance to go one-on-one with them, what have you noticed in terms of your speed in comparison? Can you run similar lap times to them, or are they like guys like Josh, are they just out the front door?
Yeah, I mean, I've raced Josh a few times this year, and he's definitely quick. It's hard to get close to him. I'd love to have a look at his data, because even me and my mates talk about it. We say, how can he be that quick? Like, you brake a little bit later, you're off the track. If you do this, you run wide. So I'd love to, you can run Motec data actually on the simulator. So I'd love to, Josh, if you're listening, send me your data and I want to have a look.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, from Walkinshaw across to Boost Mobile Racing. I'm not too sure I like your chances. You'd probably get a better chance hitting up someone like Ethan or Ian, who seem to be in pretty hot form tonight.
For sure. So Ethan and Ian did a fantastic job. Solid championship points for them. And I'm sure the guys at Boost Mobile Racing will be quite happy with their performance. Nice and consistent, and should be a good end to the season for them.
I know with Ian, it was such a big thing for him. He mentioned it, well, he missed the media day, like we mentioned, he was becoming a dad. But to drive for an actual supercars team was a real career highlight for him, and he's making the most
exactly,
of it.
Yeah, it is a real honour for him, and I'm sure he's giving it 110%, not just on race rounds and race nights, but in practice, testing, set up as much as you can when, I don't know, but when you have a newborn child, Chad, I assume that's sort of...
Less sim time.
Less sim time.
Yeah, but plenty of hours spent being up late, just not on the sim, unfortunately. So championship scenario from here, Josh Rogers and the Walkinshaw Andretti United team are really starting to streak out that lead. So it's already built now to be, what's that, 82 points. That is a big, big lead in this championship already. So driving away with it at the moment. But remember, this will all change at the end of round 4. Which is next week or next couple of weeks when they drop their worst couple of races. Although for him, that's not dropping too many points, to be honest.
No, exactly. And surprising to see Dane Warren has, dropped again down to position 6 on 224. He'll be looking to make amends for that.
Yeah, and Jake Burton, the third.
That's great.
That's huge. So Jake's night has absolutely been capped off there. He's come flying up the order.
I wonder what the bonus from Brad Jones Racing is for a third place in the championship.
You get a hat and a shirt.
And a shirt.
Which is you get the meal deal.
Lucky you.
So that's a nice effort from Jake. He's gone up from 7th to 3rd now. So he's the big mover.
Yep. And it just goes to show you have a couple of consistent races and it can elevate yourself up into the championship points, and it's going to be fascinating once we take away those 2 rounds from everyone to see where we're truly placed in terms of championship. Can't wait for that.
Briony, I hope you liked the USA. We're off to Europe next.
I love Europe.
Yeah.
Never been there,
but I'm sure you'll love it virtually when we go there. In a couple of weeks' time, we've got the Nürburgring. That's going to be huge. Zandvoort, which is a tricky one. Not as well known as a place like the Nürburgring. It is the GP circuit, I might mention, not the full Nordschleife. And we've changed Le Mans to Imola, which has got Dylan's tick of approval.
Yeah, I rate Imola. I've raced at that a few times on the sim. Never in real life, but I'd love to go over there and give it a crack. But I know that track is extremely technical, a few chicanes, which is supercar love. So see how the boys go, and hopefully the Boost Mobile team can try and get up there a few more spots, which would be nice for when I'm back watching at home.
Yes, absolutely. Dylan, thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck for the last 2 rounds of the championship, and we hopefully want to see him on the grid next year. Somewhere up and down pit lane.
Absolutely, no doubt at all. It's a pleasure having you here tonight. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed my time.
All right, well, remember, the Vodafone Gold Coast 600 is coming up this week, and you do not want to miss the action in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. It's all happening, and there's so much to talk about off the back of Bathurst. Thanks for your company tonight. We'll see you in a couple of weeks when we go racing in Europe. This has been the Gfinity Supercars E-Series, brought to you by Shannon's. Bye for now.